Chapter 81, Repairing a Large Airplane. The electric motor factory was done. Hence, Chen Jin returned straight home the next morning. He left Long to continue his search for a research organization that developed and produced mobile parts for robotic arms. After which, he would find a way to acquire the organization. Chen Jin did not accompany him in the search and negotiation processes. The journey was too strenuous, so he snuck away. Chen Jin did not have to worry at all about the lack of funds. Despite Long frequently making a big fuss about how poor he was, he could definitely afford to take out 200 to 300 million. He had profited plenty from the OEM order for millions of WA robots. By chance, Chen Jin knew that Long was a person with well-hidden secrets. Together with his wife, they invested in real estate nationwide. They had hundreds of properties under their name. The real estate they possessed was worth 200 to 300 million. The profits from the speculative sales of properties were higher than the factory's profits. When Chen Jin sought him out for an OEM order contract of 1 million WA robots, Long agreed that he could pay a down payment of just 20%. This was also the reason why he said that he could deal with the remaining 80%. Chen Jin silently muttered, "Hee, old Wang, with your hillbilly nature, do you think you can keep this from me? Underneath your cultured exterior, you are actually a bourgeoisie who has no lack of money." If Long knew what Chen Jin was thinking, he would be shouting in injustice. He was misunderstood. In reality, those houses were purchased by his wife all over the country. He had nothing to do with them. Truly, he only wanted to start a little business. To his dismay, he found out that in the end, after slogging for a year, his earnings were still less than what his wife could make by selling a property. He was a man with his own business dreams, yet he was a nobody at home. Back in the house, it was as if he lived as a gigolo. Who would understand the restlessness and the pain in his heart? After 3 days, Long made a phone call. Excited, he said, "Chief Chen, I've bought a small company that does research on the hydraulic units of robotic arms. I spent only $3,000 thereabouts. The other boss has transferred full shareholding rights to me. Chief Chen, we now have a subsidiary company to produce the mobile parts for the robotic arms. Okay, name the company now and then register it again. After that, come over to sign the contract. I'll give you the technical data. I've already thought of the company name. It'll be called Bai Long, signifying that our arms will have the strength of a dragon." Long also added that the company did not have sufficient talent in the technical department. They would have to recruit more workers. In addition, they had to purchase huge quantities of manufacturing equipment. The total amount of investment needed was 200 to 300 million. Therefore, the first batch of the mobile parts would only be supplied to Lingfeng Jingmi OEM after a minimum of 6 months. Under the best conditions, that was the earliest time the parts could be produced. In the meantime, the company could only depend on the mysterious channel that Chen Jin possessed to ensure the supply continuation. Chen Jin said, "All right. The channel on my side should be able to maintain its supply for half a year." It was just that. Every day, he would have to carry 5 tons of machine parts with the human replica robots. For 6 months, he would be training his body. Recently, he found that he had developed quite a bit of muscle. His appetite had also increased. After gaining more than 5 kilograms, his physique had become more compact and well proportioned. He believed that after another 6 months of training, he could definitely become a hunk. Others would certainly be willing to believe that his great physique came from training in a gym and not because he was a mover who worked himself too hard. Covering his face with his hands, he cried in an overly exaggerated and funny manner. On Haifa, in the base of operations, on a patch of land measuring 5 acres which had been leveled by the robots, there laid a behemoth. It had a unique design with an overall triangular layout for flight. There were 2 canards located at its nose. At its tail end, there were 4 movable tail fins. It was like a giant flying shuttle. It was also similar to a space shuttle that could do a return trip. Its greatest length was 56 meters, its height was 10 meters and its largest width was 24 meters. On its own, it weighed 194 tons without any cargo or passengers. Its interior passenger cabin had a size that was equivalent to a 240 square meter house. Moreover, it was decked out in an extremely luxurious manner. This was a private passenger plane that was custom-made for a wealthy client. It had a very nice name, it was called Dream Dancer. By now, the wealthy owner of this private plane had turned into dust. The exploration squad had towed it out from beneath a pile of rubbish. Then they cleaned it up a little and found out that the structure was only slightly damaged. After some simple repairs and charging, the plane could actually still work. Hence, the robots continued charging it. Then they operated the plane and flew over 1,000 kilometers. Then they did a vertical landing directly onto the center of the base of operations. That was right, this was an electric airplane. By adjusting the direction of the engine's nozzle, one could land and take off vertically. With a full charge, it could travel up to a distance of 30,000 kilometers and a height of 100 kilometers. There was no great danger as long as it did not fly above a speed of Mach 5 in the atmosphere. Chen Jin praised it unceasingly. Awesome, this function is absolutely bombastic. Alice explained to him, Master, this Dream Dancer uses super high-efficiency batteries that were expensive to produce. Its energy density is 2.5 times as much as a normal high-efficiency battery. The plane is driven by a plasma engine which gives it a propelling power that is 10 times that of the traditional turbojet. It can easily realize a thrust-weight ratio of 100 or more. Therefore, vertical landing and takeoff is a piece of cake for this plane. If we do some slight modifications and store large amounts of a dielectric material to act as the propellant for the plasma engine, the Dream Dancer could even have the ability to traverse outer space for a short time. It could, of course, only make temporary stops along orbits close to land. For safety reasons, it's better not to try it. Chen Jin's mouth opened wide. Alice, you mean that it's possible to remodel this plane into a spaceship with the ability to make a temporary stop in outer space? Alice nodded her head. Yes. This was one of its selling points emphasized by retailers when they were publicizing it in its first launch. Awesome, this is too awesome. Chen Jin sighed emotionally. The rich really knew how to enjoy life. With a gleam in his eyes, he thought, why don't I take this airplane up to the outer space of Higher Fa? I can see the overall appearance of this planet with a perspective from space. However, he quickly shook his head. Alice said that there was too much space debris floating about in outer space, they were counted in the hundreds of millions. Without the ability to clear that debris, it's better to not go to outer space for nothing in particular. It would be serious if he was hit by a piece of debris. For now, this behemoth of a plane could only be used within the atmosphere. Moreover, Chen Jin did not dare to operate it and take it out for a spin. It had complicated units that had not been used in at least 30 years. Who knew how many hidden dangers existed in its interior? If trouble occurred while he was in the air, his insignificant life would probably be forfeit. He dare not take the risk. Therefore, he could only look at it greedily. This is good, but I can only entrust this to the exploration squad to assist them on their trips. He imagined the robots using the plane. The plane would get stronger and their circumstance would get better. The radius of their exploration range would be increased by at least 10,000 kilometers. The efficiency of the exploration trips would increase dramatically. Before, the exploration trips were primarily about advancing on land. Now, they were advancing in a more holistic way, on both land and air. Moreover, this airplane could carry up to a load of 180 tons or the equivalent of 500 robots at one time. Even with such a load, its voyage distance was guaranteed to be at least 10,000 kilometers. With such a powerful transportation capability and a long voyage distance, Chen Jin could immediately send out robots to whatever locations that he wished to explore on Higher Fa. They could then bring a portion of the gains back to the base. Considering that the weather had recently turned warmer, the 50,000 robots that he had sent to Moliado Republic only came back with a small quantity of high-value items. Chen Jin returned his focus back to the abandoned country of Melico located 2,000 kilometers northwest of the base. He would send the robots to the core area on the eastern side to see if there were any significant gains to be found. After all, there was once a huge quantity of city dwellers spread out in that core area. It used to have a total population of over 50 million. Located right in the center of the core area was the capital, Donuit City. Within the capital were countless bank vaults, company headquarters, and high-tech factories. It was lucky that he had a usable large airplane. Chen Jin designated this behemoth of an airplane Flight No. 9 and fully charged all of the super high-efficiency batteries in the battery chamber. He sent out 2,000 robots on board Flight No. 9. They carried along more than 50 tons of various goods and materials. Their target was Donuit City. He commanded the airborne exploration squad to set off. Chapter 82, I found 20,000 tons of gold. Flight No. 9 had a very rapid speed. It was hovering above the capital, Donuit City, after only 2 hours. Moreover, the plane had a powerful directional communications system. Even from a distance of over 2,000 kilometers, it could still maintain a digital communication of 256 kb with the signal tower in the base of operations. It could send a high-definition image back to the tower every few seconds. Also, it could maintain voice communication with the robots at any time. The communication quality would rapidly drop to 126 kb and below if the distance between the plane and the signal tower was over 3,000 kilometers. If Chen Jin did not make use of a relay transmitter, it would be difficult to control the plane remotely. He would have to command the robots to operate the plane on their own in their explorations. However, with a search radius of 3,000 kilometers and an area coverage of 2,826 square kilometers, it should be sufficient to encompass the entire country of Melika inside its range. Hence, Chen Jin planned to start from the North Melika continent. He would scour and pick clean this huge area before making further plans. The plane arrived in the sky above Donuit City. From its aerial view, it took many high-definition photos and sent them back to the base, one after another. It was as Chen Jin expected. A wasteland. A vast and expansive wasteland. The capital had also suffered a nuclear bomb attack. And it was not only one bomb. The enemy country had launched at least hundreds of nuclear bombs towards this city in a bid to annihilate Donuit City. The missile defense system had intercepted a lot of bombs, but there were about 33 that still managed to land successfully. Hence, the current state of Donuit City was a city of 33 craters. Besides the 33 craters, there was not one building or any kind of infrastructure remaining. The entire population, in the number of tens of millions, had all been killed. Logically, there should not be anything of value left to be scoured in Donuit City. It seemed that flight number 9 had made a wasted trip. However, Chen Jin was not so sure that was the case. He ordered the smart operation system of the plane to open the X-band terrain detector radar that was joined to the underside of the wing unit. The radar would scan the ground of Donuit City. After opening the radar, the underground structure of Donuit City was clearly presented to Chen Jin. The underground composition of this city had not been totally destroyed by the nuclear bomb. There were intersecting underground train systems, dense city pipelines, and sewage systems. Using the mostly undamaged and complete underground train system as a frame of reference for comparison with the pre-war images of the city, Chen Jin slowly locked down on the location of a particular institution. The headquarters of Melika's Central Savings Bank. It was the largest bank in this world and had the authority to issue and circulate the country's currency. Every generation of the central bank's president possessed great power. More importantly, there were large amounts of gold stored in the underground vault of the central bank's headquarters. This was to ensure the stability of the money market in this world. Not only was all of the country's gold stored in this vault, the gold reserves of more than 60 other small to mid-sized countries were also all stored there. The amount of gold stored in this vault was 40% of all of the gold reserves in this world. This underground vault was located hundreds of meters deep underground and built under granitic layers. It was also isolated via a metal door that was more than 2 meters thick. The durability of this vault would ensure that it would not come to harm even if the likes of 1,000,000 atomic bombs were dropped directly above it. Hence, Chen Jin was certain that the underground vault still existed. The smart system reporting, a large underground structure has been detected in the scan of the central bank's surroundings. Okay. Chen Jin shuddered with delight and ordered flight number 9 to land in the vicinity of the bank. The hatch was opened and the gangway was lowered. The robots walked out successively. In their hands were various tools. So, for the next 3 days, the exploration squad used all their might to dig deep into the ground. There was no sleep or rest. On the morning of the 4th day, after cleaving through the concrete body of the wall, a great rumble could be heard. A deep, silent, and pitch-black vertical passageway appeared in the digital vision of the robots. It was an elevator shaft. The elevator had been damaged. The robots could only turn on the lights, and using the ladder on the side of the shaft, they descended to the bottom. Then, they walked through a cylinder-shaped corridor and cut apart 2 1-meter-thick metal doors using the laser machines. There was no need to cut through the final metal door that was 2 meters thick. A hole had already been made in the door. Through the hole, the inside of the vault could be seen. The team leader of the robots reported, 15 bodies have been found inside the vault. They are dressed in uniforms, so they should be the bank staff. After the destructive war erupted, the vault door automatically closed. When the oxygen was exhausted, they died inside. Chen Jin breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, when the team leader of the robots reported that there were bodies inside, he had thought that other powers had already encroached on the riches inside the vault. He quickly asked, "Is the gold still inside the vault?" "Yes, Master, they are still there." "Quickly, send some photos to me." After 5 minutes, a total of 10 high-definition images were sent to Chen Jin. Chen Jin's jaw dropped, and his eyes were filled with a golden light, reflecting his obsession. Gold. Countless amounts of gold. They were all in the shape of trapezoid bars. Each bullion weighed 40 pounds. The bullions were laid out in rows and columns on thousands of shelves in a neat arrangement. A rough estimation showed a minimum count in the hundreds of thousands. Taking in the full view, the room was filled with a golden light. It was like something out of a dream, one could get lost in its thrall. An infinitely large wave of desire rose in his heart. A phrase kept replaying in Chen Jin's mind. "I've struck it rich, struck it rich, struck it rich. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha." Suddenly, he threw his head back and cackled with laughter. He seemed to have been possessed or gone insane. "Mine, mine. All of this gold is mine. Ha ha ha, you were all racing to grab and fight over the land, riches, power, and whatever else that had value. You fought and killed each other. In the process, you launched all the nuclear bombs. You've used the very last bomb and killed the very last human. And then, it was done. All the conflicts were resolved and all the hatred had disappeared. It became clean, peaceful, and tranquil. This world was finally at peace. So, all the remaining lands and riches. They all belong to me now. Including the gold bullions in this vault, they are mine too. I did not steal or rob. Nobody stepped out to claim them or raised any suspicions. There's no argument that these gold bullions belong to me. Ha ha ha. This is funny. This planet is really too hilarious." Chen Jin hugged his stomach as he laughed. He was almost crying from laughing so hard. He felt that with his current life experience, it would be impossible to experience something more ridiculous than this even if he lived for another 100 years. In other words, he felt that ever since the interdimensional portal had appeared in his toilet, he had found the planet of Higher Fa to be filled with the absurd and the comic. He always felt like laughing, especially during the times when he found some good treasures. He could not help but laugh. After his emotions had calmed down from his laughing fit, Chen Jin ordered the leader of the team of robots to take inventory of the vault and calculate the exact quantities of gold and their weight. 30 minutes passed very quickly. The exact quantities of the various types of gold had been calculated. Gold bullion, 1,111,275 pieces. Weight of 1 bullion, 40 pounds, equivalent to about 18 kilograms. The total weight of the gold was 20,162,634 kilograms. To sum up the gains reaped from this underground vault in a simple phrase. He had found 20,000 tons of gold. Chapter 83, I found a nuclear bomb. After his excited emotions from finding the sea of gold had calmed, Chen Jin's mind cleared too. He found himself facing a critical problem. He had found so much gold, but there did not seem to be much use for it. He could not bring it to Earth and sell all of it straight away. There was no way to explain their specific origins. He could employ the method of exchanging gold for gold via the channel of forever jewels. Every month, he would be exchanging about 100 kilograms of gold. But the amount was too large and it would be easy to attract attention and suspicion. Hence, in order to avoid danger, he could not bring this 200 tons of gold over to Earth in big batches. Excluding this 200 tons of gold, there was already more than 1,000 tons of gold in the base of operations. They were recently found and transported back by the 50,000 robots who had been sent out to scour Moliaduo Republic. Chen Jin was unable to find uses for this 1,000 tons of gold in the short term. He did not know how long it would take to sell off all of this gold. With this additional 200 tons, he was overrun. He felt like he might be forced to destroy this batch of gold. With this thought, he felt his interest wane and his heart cooling. Indeed, he had rejoiced too soon. But, the inherent value of gold still existed. It was just that Chen Jin was prudent and timid, hence it appeared that there were limited options and uses available. Hey, how about this? I'll let the robots transport all 200 tons of gold back to the base of operations and put them in the capsule factory. Then, I'll melt those gold bullions and remake them into squares. Finally, I'll use these gold squares and build a gold castle. The castle will be made entirely of gold. Occasionally, I'll go and live inside. This should be a pretty nice experience. A 200-ton gold castle. Haha, this should be the most expensive building constructed in the whole world. It can't be done even by the richest hillbilly, right? Chen Jin's whimsical desire rose in him and he itched to make his idea a reality. He was filled with a great sense of anticipation. Half of the robots and a batch of high-efficiency batteries were left behind to deal with the gold. Flight number 9 slowly rose into the air to complete the rest of the survey work. The exploration assignments that Chen Jin had planned did not only involve gold. The robots were not sent out to Donut City purely for gold. Gold was merely Chen Jin's greatest interest. In terms of practical value, technical information was far more valuable. They were ahead of Earth's technological knowledge by at least 100 years. Donut City would be set as the center of a range with a 300-kilometer radius. He hoped that he could find some high-tech information material in this densely populated and highly developed area, such as finding a few more high-performing supercalculators, amongst other technological gains. All these were of higher in value than gold and would provide him with greater support. However, Chen Jin was quickly disappointed. There was no prosperity or bustle in the metropolitan area surrounding the core of Donut City. Only a wasteland remained. Tens of millions of humans had been vaporized by the nuclear explosions. There was not one single building left on the surface that was more than 10 meters high. It's barren and brown all over, like a mud pond. There's not even a single hair left, much less materials on technological information. Suddenly, just when he was about to totally give up, the smart system of flight number 9 reporting, a city has been found in the southern periphery in the range around the capital's core. The buildings in this city are untouched. They have not been damaged by any attacks. A huge spread of skyscrapers appeared in the images that were relayed back to him. They occupied an area of about 300 square kilometers. It was a large city that once held a dense population in the millions. Chen Jin was very doubtful. How is this possible? The surrounding cities have all been destroyed. Why is this the only city that was left untouched? This perfectly whole and undamaged city lying within a barren wasteland seemed too unexpected and sudden. Very quickly, flight number 9 lowered its altitude and entered the airspace above the city. It carried out a series of surveys. He quickly found the reason why this city had not been totally destroyed. Chen Jin was so shocked that his mouth hung open. In the heart of this city was a plaza, and right in the center of the plaza was a big hole with a diameter of about 5 meters. Still in a stupor, Chen Jin asked, What is that?" Alice explained, "Master, if I am right, that should be an unexploded nuclear warhead. It was a dud due to internal malfunctions." You mean that is a nuclear bomb, an unexploded nuclear bomb?" Even Chen Jin thought that he was sounding repetitive. Oh God, aside from images on the internet, he had never seen a nuclear bomb in his life. And a real one at that. What if it suddenly exploded? His mind conjured an image of a mushroom cloud rising in the air. "It's okay, Master. The lifespan of the explosive unit in this bomb has expired. It does not possess any possibility of an eruption." He understood. Chen Jin finally understood the situation through Alice's explanation. This city was named Rockford. It was left all alone because of plain dumb luck. Very fortunately, it was bombed by a dud. If it had met with a working nuclear bomb, it would have been turned into a barren wasteland long ago. However, even if it was an unexploded dud, it was enough to scare the residents of this city into tears. All of them had fled. The dud was still resting in the crater without anyone coming back to deal with it. Flight number 9 landed on the plaza in the heart of the city. 10+ robots alighted and brought with them various tools. They walked to the vicinity of the big hole. Taking more than an hour, they very carefully dug the unexploded dud out of the hole, and checked the nuclear bomb meticulously. On the underside of the bomb, in an area not too apparent to the naked eyes, the robots found an ant-sized engraving in a Sinitic standard script. There were 4 characters: Hua State Nuclear Works. The strokes of the characters were stern and solemn and vigorous, with a sense of power. He finally understood the identity of the opponent country that had carried out a full-on nuclear attack on Hierophaw's strongest country of Melika. Amazing! Yes, yes, yes! The hegemony cannot act with arrogance forever. It has finally experienced the real meaning of defeat. Although, the final end was mutual destruction. But, Melika, who was similarly domineering on this planet, will never look down on and bully the Hwasya peoples again. Chen Jin shook his head. Right now, he wanted to vent his anger and hatred on something. He felt like making a clean sweep of everything. Although he was a homebody in the past, he did occasionally take note of some national affairs of importance. However, he always saw negative news about how the country's airspace and waters were infringed upon by the American Empire and how they harassed his country. Through the robot's discovery of this unexploded nuclear bomb, Chen Jin could feel that the Hwasya were an upright population that had courage and backbone. They had a fighting spirit and an unyielding and proud character that could not be crushed by any evil power that sought to dominate them. In one sudden moment, Chen Jin became extremely interested in Hwa State, located in the other portion of this planet. He muttered, "After I've finished with the exploration here, I have to go and take a look at the eastern country on the other side of the planet. I need to thoroughly explore the other country, a motherland of this dimension is worthy of my respect." Therefore, the gains from today's exploration could be summarized with two simple phrases. He found an undamaged city that had once held a population in the millions. And he found a nuclear bomb. Chapter 84, A Futuristic Technology, Simulated Reality. It was really unexpected that he had even managed to find an ultimate weapon of destruction like the nuclear bomb. He let the robots pack the bomb carefully and put it in the cargo hold of Flight Number 9. Chen Jin's mentality underwent a subtle change. He felt that perhaps, he really could own an entire planet. Moreover, he had the right and the ability to own it. It was because he possessed a nuclear bomb. If there were any remaining survivors on Higher Fa who possessed greater power than him, this nuclear bomb could decide who would be the ultimate owner of the planet. There was a pretty low chance that the portal on Earth would be exposed. But, even if that happened by accident, and it became targeted by powerful organizations or other forces, he was confident that through a wrestle for power, he would be able to protect his own interests. It was because he possessed a nuclear bomb. Even though this nuclear bomb was a dud that had expired and could not be used anymore, it was still a paper tiger that could act as a powerful deterrent. Regardless, it still gave an extremely huge boost to Chen Jin's confidence and attitude. Shaking his fist, he said in a rather immature and self-centered tone, "Now, I too, have a nuclear deterrent. I'm asking, are you all afraid? Would anyone still dare to provoke me?" It could be said that this tiny little nuclear bomb lit the fire of greed burning in his heart. He was fixed on this notion, Higher Fa is mine, it's all mine. His head was getting bigger and bigger. After the ego boost, the work that had to be done in the exploration process continued. The city of Rockford was located within the urban circle of the capital and once had a population in the millions. It had a well-developed economy, an excellent infrastructure, and technology that progressed at a similar standard as the capital of Donuit City. The city's major industry was the IT software industry. Many famous IT companies had set up their headquarters or R&D departments there. One could tell at a glance what was the most valuable technological information in this city. Chen Jin sent out a squad of robots straight towards the city hall at high speed. Within the city hall, there would definitely be precious babies that would surprise and please him. After the robots arrived at the city hall, they conducted a round of meticulous searching. Reporting, no large calculators or data rooms were found in the city hall. None. Chen Jin frowned. How can there be none? Could it be that someone has beaten me to it, and they took away the supercalculator in the city hall? Someone took his baby? Alice guessed, "Master, it is not the case that every city hall has a supercalculator. Out of cost savings considerations, some cities would work with privately owned data companies. The city management system would be stored and deployed within the large servers of the companies. Rockford has many IT companies. It was very possible that the city government chose to collaborate with the private companies in this city to carry out the management of the city." Chen Jin nodded his head repeatedly. Yes, 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 this is possible. This is very probable. He ordered the robots to focus their search on the privately owned IT companies in Rockford. After half a day, in the high-tech industrial park located in the west of the city, was Rockford's biggest software company Sun Software Technologies Private Limited. Beneath the company was a large cold storage data center that was comprised of 3 underground levels. A supercalculator system occupied an area measuring about half an acre. It also occupied more than 300 data storage cabinets. The outer shell of the calculator was painted red. Alice recognized her. She exclaimed excitedly, "Scarlet!" She once placed 15th in the world's supercalculation chart. Although her later placements had dropped to the 400s, she's still one of the calculators with the strongest operational ability. Her peak operational ability is a count of 100 quintillion. It is 10 times that of this current calculator. Dear Master, please quickly get the robots to transport this calculator back to the base. I want to consume her. Her structure design is too advanced and her operational ability is too powerful. She'll definitely provide immense support for the development of the base. Alice extended her little spur-like tongue and licked her red lips. Her gaze was filled with a greed that could not be hidden. Alice had the same expression when the robots transported that advanced supercalculator from Moliaduo Republic back to the base. It had an operational ability up to a count of 10 quintillion and was named Light of the Motherland by the Moliaduo government. This time, Alice's behavior was even more exaggerated. It was as if she had seen a first-class delicacy that would allow her to evolve. Of course, this behavior was very normal. Beings of artificial intelligence were also representations of human existence. They had their own aspirations and desires. One of their most common desires was to upgrade to the next generation. Oh! Alice, do you really want her that much? Your last upgrade was completed only a short time ago. I think that there should be 2 calculators at the base. Chen Jin's eyes squinted in a smile as his attitude turned mischievous. Alice became so anxious that she stomped her foot over and over again. Her eyes were opened wide and round as she pursed her lips in chagrin. With a pitiful appearance, she said, Master, don't you like Alice anymore? Is there any area where I did poorly? Alice can change if Master is not satisfied. Alice continued with a fearful expression, but, please, do not put 2 sets of calculators at the base. Within a single system, the principle of artificial intelligence is as follows: the weak obey the strong. The one with lower intelligence obeys the one with higher intelligence. My program is extremely outdated. Once I have been absorbed by a program with higher intelligence, it would be probable that she would modify my code and erase my original characteristics. She could even reconfigure my format. I will never be the same Alice again. Master, please don't do this. Chen Jin was astonished. There are conflicts and schisms between the artificial intelligences too. Previously, it was with Dali's support that Alice had successfully devoured the more advanced Light of the Motherland. Using the ability gifted by the rebooted virus, Dali had stripped the Light of the Motherland's authority in its entirety and transferred it to Alice. Thus, the process of the weak merging with the strong was completed. Alice wanted to devour this scarlet that was found in Rockford. She was driven by 2 motivations. One was the desire to upgrade to the next generation. The next was the fear of undergoing a format reconfiguration. Hence, on a subconscious level, she had decided to strike first to gain the upper hand. Therefore, she was trying her best to act cute and play up to Chen Jin by boosting her emotional appeal through the roof. All right, Alice, your performance has been good recently. I'm quite pleased. Scarlet can be your reward. You must continue to do well in the future and provide me with a better service, okay? Chen Jin truly could not find anything that was unsatisfactory about Alice. He considered the new artificial intelligence again. It was similarly hostile towards his identity as a person of Z country. Moreover, it could not beat Alice's use of convenience which he had grown accustomed to. Why not give Alice another upgrade? Thank you, Master, thank you, Master. Alice spun in circles and waved her hands. Jumping and skipping, she exclaimed, Yay! Yay! Her virtual image leaned towards Chen Jin's cheek and she kissed him madly with smooching noises. Master, you are too good to me. I'll love you forever. Chen Jin smiled as he held his hand up. After Alice's detailed explanation of Scarlet's various and powerful abilities, he was unable to remain calm as his mouth hung open in amazement. With an operational ability of up to a count of 100 quintillion, Scarlet possessed the following abilities. 1. Build a complete set of simulated reality that had a 99% matching rate with real life. 2. One could don the simulated reality headgear and disembark on the simulated environment where one could start having various experiences there. 3. Within Scarlet's body was stored a large amount of highly valuable data. For example, by using the simulated school in the city management system, one could finish 15 years of basic compulsory education. It provided a low-cost and high-quality schooling service. In addition, there was medical information, scientific research data, and loads of software application tools. With the possession of Scarlet, the base could be said to have entered an era of simulated reality. Most of the tasks could fully be started and carried out within the simulated environment. Alice was not equipped with these abilities. With her current operational ability, she could not build or navigate the simulated environment. Now, with the acquisition of Scarlet, the base was about to enter a whole new era. A futuristic technology, this is definitely a type of futuristic technology. Chen Jin was extremely excited. He immediately gave out an order. The shipment of gold going back to the base would be postponed. He would first concentrate their strength on the transport of Rockford's supercalculator, Scarlet, back to the base via flight number 9. Chapter 85, The Script. Besides the supercalculator Scarlet, there were around 10 other large calculators found within the IT companies of Rockford that had an operational ability on par with the light of the motherland. In these IT companies, Chen Jin also found the software that they manufactured. There was a gaming company named Milky Way who had created a game series called The Interstellar Homeland. The game was very well known amongst the gaming community. When the robots were raiding this company, they found a large amount of information material related to the game series. A shocking plan was gleaned from the material. Milky Way Game Company had actually decided to make a type of simulated online game called The Interstellar Homeland OL. The game had a map area that was as vast as the Milky Way. It had a reality match of 99.99% and could accommodate 1 billion players within its simulated reality. Players could do anything they wanted, whether it was building farm infrastructure, creating a naval force, expanding colonies, or participating in interstellar warfares. They had a very high level of freedom within the game. If Milky Way Game Company had really planned to develop this category of online game, it would have to at least contact 10 or more governments from different countries, invest 1 trillion in the game, and continue to develop it for another 15 years or more before it even has a possibility of being successfully realized. Moreover, this type of game demands an extremely high level of operational ability from the server. Only a supercalculator with an operational ability of more than 100 sextillion counts can handle such a massive amount of data. The operating pressure exerted on the system is equivalent to playing 10 normal online fantasy games. With the company's size, it was very unlikely for them to ever complete the development of the game. From the archives that had been sent over by the robots, 35% of the Interstellar Homeland OL had already been completed. It was shocking that the company had been able to achieve that within 3 years. This means that the Milky Way Game Company had mastered some kind of technology that enabled the acceleration of game development. This technology would also, in turn, lower the development costs by a huge margin. Alice was very astonished. Then, get the robots to carry the equipment of the Milky Way Game Company back to the base of operations. Extract the information regarding the game and crack the technology behind the development of the game. Besides the software information related to games, other IT companies had also developed many software application tools. For example, software for special effects in movie making, audio, industrial design, creating custom operations systems, etc. It was not for nothing that Rockford had a reputation as a software capital. If a software capital exists, then it would be natural that its opposite, a hardware capital, existed too. It should have a well-known reputation for manufacturing the hardware of various calculators. Chen Jin asked, "Where is the hardware capital?" Alice replied, "There is a place called Silicon Valley located in the Bay Area of Gold Mountain City in the state of California. It's the most famous hardware capital. It's about 2,900 kilometers from the base." Silicon Valley? There's one in this world too. Master, after the destructive war erupted, as one of the primary targets in the war strategy, Silicon Valley would be in the heavy strike list. It has a very low possibility of surviving like Rockford. However, Chen Jin said, even so, after the raid on the metropolitan area around Donuit City has been completed, the next target will be Silicon Valley. He wanted to see if it was possible to find equipment and technology related to the manufacture of chips. Altogether, there were more than 20,000 tons of gold from Donuit City, as well as hardware and software from Rockford to be transported. With only flight number 9 to rely on for transport, it would require more than a month to complete the task. Chen Jin could only wait patiently. His main focus returned back to affairs on Earth. During those 2 months, he had to carry and transport large amounts of things. Of which, there were 50,000 units of brushless motors. Each unit weighed 60 grams. Hence, the total weight was 3 tons. There were also 50,000 pairs of movable parts for the robotic arms. Each pair of parts weighed 100 grams. The total weight was 5 tons. The combined weight of the 2 items was 8 tons. With so many components to be transported, they had to be arranged neatly in a specialized container for the components. Each container could hold 40 kilograms worth of components. With 8 tons, it meant that he had to fill up 200 containers. How would he accomplish this transportation task? Chen Jin planned it this way: at around 2 am, he would bring 2 human replica robots, that had not been infected with the virus, back to Earth. Then, they would carry the containers down to the large Benz car. For each trip, they would carry 2 containers. The containers would be put inside the trunk and the back seat. 40 containers could be put into the car. Then, he would take one of the human replica robots with him and drive the cargo to a small warehouse that was less than 2 kilometers away from his neighborhood. The robot would help him unload the containers, which would be temporarily stored in the warehouse. The other human replica robot would continue to carry the goods down from his room. After unloading the cargo, he would drive back to his neighborhood and start the second cargo transportation. 200 containers would require a total of 5 trips to the warehouse. Each trip was around 25 minutes. Every day, he would have to bust his ass from 2 am to about 4:30 am, there were others who would take away the cargo after dawn. He would have to do this routine every single day. No matter rain or shine, he had to do this for 2 months or more. It was not too exhausting. Chen Jin only had to lend a hand during the unloading process to speed it up. The problem was that this would severely affect his rest. It would cause his circadian rhythm to go haywire. Even though his usual sleeping hours were quite irregular, he could not keep such hours every day. Who would be able to endure this continuously for a few months? So, he was vexed. Chen Jin hated it deeply. He gritted his teeth. Good on you, Yaskawa Electric from Japan, Fanuc Corporation, and all the industry tattletales from this country. You all reduced me to this state of having to do the lowliest tasks of carrying and transporting cargo. Me, a billionaire, who is worth more than 20,000 tons of gold. You're powerful. If I don't ruin all of you, my surname won't be Chen. In his heart, Chen Jin had already sentenced to death these few enterprises who had offended him. He would not rest until he had ruined them all. The 10th of April marked more than 20 days since her last visit. Shi Xiaotao finally came to Shanghai City again. Holding the script that she had written, she smiled confidently. She had meticulously crafted this script in 23 days. In her pursuit of creating a happy and interesting story, she had discarded 3 rough drafts that had a total of over 100,000 words. Finally, she had written a script that she was relatively satisfied with. It was a story about the WA robot. She believed that this script would reach the eyes of Chief Chen and definitely gain his approval. She would successfully get the film adaptation rights to the intellectual property of the WA robot. The receptionist said, "I'm sorry, Chief Chen is not in the office. He usually drops in at the office in the afternoon. You can wait in the lobby." "Okay, I'll wait for him to come in the afternoon." Shi Xiaotao found a sofa and sat down on it. She laid the script on her knees and pushed the pink-colored frames of her glasses up on the bridge of her nose. Then, she started examining if there were any areas in the script that should be modified. At 2 p.m., Chen Jin returned to the company. He used the first half-hour to deal with some urgent tasks. It was only after that was taken care of, that he saw Shi Xiaotao, who had been waiting for him to finish his tasks. Chen Jin took his measure of her. Her clothing theme was pink, and she wore her ponytail in a loose and voluminous style. Her round face was as cute as ever, with a pair of pink-framed non-prescription glasses. Her level of cuteness increased by a factor of 1 and her aura of intelligence increased by a factor of 2. Her appearance made one's eyes brighten and helplessly take another look. "Chief Chen, please take a look at this script. I wrote it myself. It's about the WA robot and the human race, how they progressed from mutual misunderstandings and discrimination to mutual love and understanding via a series of stories. I believe you'll like this script too." Holding the script, she placed it on the office table. Stretching a delicate finger, she gently pushed it towards Chen Jin. "You really wrote a script?" Chen Jin was rather surprised. He took the script and said, "Okay, let's see what's this story like." Chapter 86, Divorce. Opening the script, he began to read it line by line and page by page. Chen Jin read it rather meticulously. He took half an hour to read a script that was only about 10,000 words. He could not help but smile at certain parts of the story. After reading the last page, he nodded and praised, "Not bad, this script is really not bad at all." Shi Xiaotao wrote a story that not only warmed the heart but was also rather shrewd. The WA robot had accepted the mission to protect the Earth's environment. For that purpose, it had entered the home of a family of 4. From there, it was a series of stories about WA. the eldest daughter, Lan Lan, and the youngest son, Abeo. 8-year-old Lan Lan was a more sensible child. She liked cleanliness and loved Wa. 6-year-old Abeo was a naughty kid. He was mischievous and liked to cause trouble by playing all kinds of pranks. With the arrival of Wa, it became the primary target for Abeo's pranks. He messed around with Wa so much that it started smoking and experienced faults. It almost died. Wa hated Abeo, and was also very frightened of him. It avoided him like the plague. Privately, Wa would frequently deride and gripe about how bad humans were. After which, there were 2 evil human traffickers who had set their sights on Lan Lan and Abeo. When their parents were not at home, they took the opportunity to kidnap them. Then it was Wa robot to the rescue. Through various thrilling and nerve-wracking battles of wits and courage, Wa successfully rescued Lan Lan and Abeo. The evil human traffickers were trounced by Wa and they were punished by the law. Through this process, Lan Lan and Abeo discovered that Wa could speak. After Wa rescued them, the children treated Wa as their best friend. Abeo was no longer mischievous or caused trouble. He became a sensible child who liked cleanliness. In order to get Wa to play with him, he even took the initiative to help Wa clean up. A perfect and happy story about a whole family ended at that point. Shi Xiaotao expressed that this was only the first part of the movie series. If the first part appealed to a large audience, the following episodes could be built on the foundation of the first part. The story could be extended and a second or even third part could be filmed. There was no need to worry that there would not be sufficient stories for the filming. Chen Jin nodded. It seems like you have a thorough understanding of the industrial production model of the successful Hollywood movies. Do you want to become a commercial film director? She rolled her eyes. Isn't the purpose of making a movie to earn money? What's a movie if nobody watches it? And what's a director if he doesn't earn money from his films? I am a staunch businesswoman. In any case, the movies that I make must be profitable. I won't do business that gains attention but results in a loss. Chen Jin could not help but ask, how would you win awards like this? For example, the Gold Rooster Awards or the Flowers Film Awards. The award winners are movies that don't have mass appeal. What would you do if you don't win an award? He thought that her way of thinking was rather interesting. Shi Xiaotao brandished her little fist. Why can I only prove myself by winning an award? The praise by the audience shown via the box office sales is the best award. 1 billion in box office sales means that the movie is not too bad, 2 billion means that the movie is very good, 3 billion means that the director is very impressive. I want to be the most impressive director. Ha ha ha. Chen Jin was enjoying this. You have very pragmatic views. I really like it. Actually, my personal idea with regards to the movie Wa Robot is to film it as a sci-fi movie, within a story about the stars and the seas. But your thoughts are in the right place. From the point of view of the box office performance, it is much better to film it as a whole and happy family movie that would appeal to both the young and old. We would have better box office earnings and it would have the benefit of increasing the popularity of the Wa Robot. So, I accept this script of yours. Find a professional screenwriter to do a little modification and it'll be okay. I can give you the adaptation rights to the film and TV works. Hardcore sci-fi movies had a rather small audience in Z country's mainland. Intense and thrilling action movies, urban comedies, and movies that used a huge amount of special effects were more popular. Shi Xiaotao's business insight was quite accurate. With her script, it should be easy to earn 2 to 3 billion in box office sales as long as the movie's production quality was good. Chen Jin had not given up on the sci-fi movie about Wa. He simply planned to film another sci-fi series in addition to the Happy Family series. It would be entrusted to a director specializing in making sci-fi movies. Of course, he would not find someone to make that series now. It would happen after the Happy Family series had become wildly popular. Really? Shi Xiaotao was so happy that she bounced up and down in her chair. This is great, thank you. Thank you, Chief Chen, for giving me this opportunity. It was unexpected that she could gain this sort of approval and trust as a new prospective director without any works of a significant length under her belt. She was really pleasantly surprised. Of course, her own ability did play a part too. Don't be too happy yet. Chen Jin said with a wave of his hand, you've only passed the first test. Next, I hope that you'll do a movie demo using this script. It doesn't need to be too long. 3 minutes is enough. Bring it over for me to take a look. If the demo is good and the quality is of a certain standard, then we can have the possibility of further collaboration. This was the reason why many directors did not follow up after approaching Chen Jin. It was because his demands were too rigorous. First, he wanted a script, and then a movie demo. They invested millions into their pitch but could not be certain of getting a chance to collaborate. Who would have the guts to do this sort of thing? But Shi Xiaotao had the guts to do it. And she did it with all that she had. From this one could see the charm of this lady. Or rather, one should say that the young had no fear. Okay. I'll assemble a team immediately to start working on the movie production. But I hope that you'll grant me a tiny request. Speak. I want to use the artistic style of the WA robot advertisement series as a reference framework and directly adopt the robot's image from that series. This would help to reduce the workload in the art studios and speed up the progress of the movie's production. Chief Chen, if you have the related materials with you, I hope that you can give it to me for reference. It would be very troublesome to redesign everything from scratch, it would cause a 2 to 3 months delay. Shi Xiaotao was a semi-professional comic artist with a very good foundation in fine arts. But, she knew how tedious and complicated art designing could be, especially for the production of an animated movie. Countless source materials would have to be drafted and rendered. If there was reference that was available, it would help to save a lot of work. Okay, no problem. I can give you the source materials for the advertisements. Chen Jin nodded. He had seen her determination and drive, so he decided to give her a chance to try. Thank you Chief Chen, thank you. Shi Xiaotao was overjoyed. Her heart overflowed with excitement. Yay! I've done it. I'll definitely make the movie. And I'll definitely succeed. Contract negotiations were completed, and Chen Jin sent her out to the lobby and said that he would send the source materials over to her within the next 2 days. The two shook hands again, and Shi Xiaotao left Shanghai City. In the early afternoon of the 11th of April, Chen Jin came over to Forever Jewels with some urgency. Once he alighted from his car, he immediately ran to the 3rd story. In the lounge, he saw store manager Chu Wanting. With one look at her appearance, Chen Jin was shocked. He could not help but yell in surprise, "Auntie Chu, your husband beat you into this state." Chu Wanting's appearance really was appalling. Her nose was bruised and her face was swollen. There was a spot on her cheek that was swollen to a size bigger than a fist. Her hair was a mess and her eyes were dull and listless. Her hands were swathed in gauze. The store manager's uniform was torn in many areas. Countless purple, red, and yellow bruises could be seen on her neck, collar, and legs. Not only was her looks ruined, her body could also be described as a mass of wounds. Who did it? Of course it was her husband. It happened this morning when her husband seemed to have gone crazy for unknown reasons. After she had finished making breakfast and was preparing to leave for work, he demanded that she clean the house before leaving. Chu Wanting said coldly, "The robot is in charge of the cleanliness, I don't have to clean. Also, for your lunch, you can call for takeaways. I'm not coming back to make lunch." "What? You don't have to clean." The man rushed towards Wa's side and kicked it over. Then, he stomped on it crazily. "You don't have to clean. You don't have to clean." In a few moments, the robots was stomped to pieces. Chu Wanting immediately threw a random item with great force at him. "Huang Yudai, are you insane?" He walked over with red eyes, looking as if he was a mad beast. "Don't go to work anymore. Stay at home, and do the honest work of cleaning and cooking." Slap! Chu Wanting delivered a smack with her palm. Bam 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 bam. The two started to scuffle. She managed to escape from the fight and came to the shop looking like she did. Chen Jin brandished his fist and said, "Auntie Chu, you can't tolerate this anymore. That man is a coward and a good for nothing. Other than finding the meaning of his existence by making life difficult for you, he's just a useless bum. Today he's violent towards you, tomorrow he may want your life. I think you should cut your losses. For your own safety, you have leave that shit far away, you have to divorce him." A vein throbbed in his forehead. Chen Jin had never felt so angry in his life. Yes. Chief Chen is right. Store manager, you have to divorce him. According to the anti-domestic violence law, you can unilaterally file for divorce. He has no choice but to agree. The law will also support you. Yes, you were beaten into this state, this definitely counts as severe domestic violence. The staff were persuading and advising in droves, their voices overlapping. Looking at the wounded and exhausted store manager, Guo Yan started to cry. Guo Yan held her hand and advised her as she cried, "Manager, cherish your life and leave this scum far, far away. We women have to learn how to protect ourselves." Chu Wanting slowly nodded and groaned out, yet, from within her listless gaze came a firm look that was brimming with energy. Chapter 87, A Treat to a Meal. It was enough. Chu Wanting had finally had enough. She did not know what she found attractive about that man when she met him 20 years ago. She did not have too many demands and only wanted to find an average man whom she could spend her days with. If she could have another chance, she would absolutely never choose that man again. Even if she ended up marrying a disabled person or someone who was ugly and frustrating, she would never choose that man again. Now, she only wanted to leave that stubborn, conservative man who seemed to think that he was living in an olden era, far, far away. Divorce. She wanted to divorce that man. Now. Immediately. It would be best if she could divorce him right now. When he had strangled her throat and caused her to suffocate for those few seconds, she had truly experienced what it must be like to die. At that moment, she became determined to leave him. Although by doing so, she would let her son down, she was still determined to get a divorce. It might adversely affect his future development or even cause him to have difficulties in finding a partner. Even so, she had to be separated from that man at the very least. Hence, she took her mobile phone and called her son to ask for his opinion. From the other side of the phone, her son Hung Siming said, "Mom, I support you. Since a very long time ago, I felt that you should divorce Dad. He's just an antique. He's only happy when you wait on him hand and foot at home like a servant girl. He's an elementary school language teacher and also frequently teaches others about our ancient history and culture. But, I just think that he's a feudal dross. You said that he almost strangled you to death, you have to immediately divorce him. Mom, you don't have to worry about me. I've got a girlfriend recently, if she knew about this situation, she would also support your decision to leave. If you don't leave, she may even be worried about marrying into this kind of home. Mom, no matter what, I support you. I'll follow you as my parent in the future." Chu Wanting's tears started falling. "Okay, son, I'll listen to you." Her son's support had eliminated the greatest worry in her heart. In the next few days, she temporarily set aside matters regarding the shop. She only wanted to focus on achieving one thing, getting a divorce. Huang Yuda's face was livid with rage. "Divorce? Don't talk to me about this. It's impossible, don't even begin." He was not afraid of divorce, he was afraid that he could not afford to lose that person. "We'll divorce even if you don't want to. I'll go to the court and make a complaint against you. You beat me up like this is evidence of domestic violence. The judge will sanction a divorce." Chu Wanting's attitude was strong and unyielding. She went to the court on that very same day and filed for a divorce lawsuit. After a round of arbitration in the courthouse, these were the results. They found out that there were indeed no feelings left between the two and there were serious conflicts between their personalities. Through the psychologist's evaluation, he judged that Huang Yuda's personality was rather extreme and was heavily inclined towards violence. If they were to continue maintaining their married status after this case of domestic violence, Chu Wanting's life would be endangered. A separation was advised and the marriage would be dissolved. Following which, the court issued the judgment of agreeing to Chu Wanting's divorce lawsuit and sanctioning their divorce. Huang Yuda's eyes turned red. "I don't agree, I won't cede to this." He tore the court's notice letter into little pieces. Under the influence of his rage, frustration, and humiliation, he almost felt like he was going insane. Hence, he went to Forever Jewels the next day and kicked up a big fuss. He was prepared to ferret Chu Wanting out and drag her home straight away. "Stop him, stop him." Guo Yan reached out her hand and clawed 5 bloody streaks on his face. "Sisters, this shit wants to kill our store manager, let's beat him up together." She raised her foot and kicked him fiercely. 110, quickly call the police. Under the concerted efforts of everyone in the shop, they managed to suppress Huang Yude. The police came to take him away and he was subsequently detained in the administrative detention center for 5 days. After he was released on bail, he came to the shop a few more times to create a scene. But, each time, he had left quietly in embarrassment without gaining any advantage. Huang Yude was so angry that he became capable of committing anything. One day after she had clocked out of work, he followed her all the way to a small neighborhood nearby where she had rented a place. He darted out from the side and covered her mouth. With an expression of madness, he began dragging her to some unknown area. Release the store manager. These few days, Guo Yan had been acting as Chu Wanting's protective detail after work. When she heard her scream, she backtracked just in time. Taking out the anti-molester spray from her bag, she sprayed it frantically at his eyes. Ah! Ah! Huang Yude screeched as he loosened his grip and covered his eyes. Die, scum! Guo Yan executed a flying kick and knocked him down onto the ground. She rushed over and beat him with her fists and feet continuously for more than 10 minutes. Huang Yude struggled with all his might but realized that his strength was no match for this woman. He was fully suppressed. His face was slapped beyond recognition and he still did not have even a smidgen of strength to retaliate. If Chu Wanting did not hold her back, Huang Yude would have been beaten to death. Swish! Finally, Guo Yan took out a butterfly knife from her bag and held it in front of Huang Yude. With a cold voice, she said, "Listen, you scum. If you dare to harass the store manager again, I'll kill you." A chilling light glinted off the blade of the butterfly knife. It made him duck his head. The next day, Huang Yude was sent to the hospital. There, it was found that he had 2 broken ribs and severe contusions all over his body. He had to be hospitalized for at least a month to recover. Logically, he should have called the police so that his assaulter, Guo Yan, could be arrested. But, he wanted to protect his image. Not only did he not call the police, he even said that it was from a fall due to his own carelessness. After the incident, Huang Yude never harassed Chu Wanting again. He did not dare to do so. Every time he saw the killing intent in Guo Yan's eyes, he felt goosebumps on his back. Many areas of his body would act up with a dull throbbing pain. After the big battle that night, Guo Yan became the heroine of the shop. Everyone praised her for the achievement of violently beating up the scum and emerging victorious from the fight. Chu Wanting trusted her even more and promoted her to the assistant store manager. The boss, Chen Jin, heard about this incident and nodded. Good job, Guo Yan. If you had not taken action, the consequences would be unimaginable. Way to go. He stuck up his thumb. Guo Yan scratched her head in embarrassment. With a blush on her face, she said with a lowered head, "Thank you, Chief Chen." Then, she quickly explained, that Chief Chen, don't listen to their nonsense. Really, I'm not that violent. I don't know Taekwondo either. My strength comes from doing manual work. Usually, I don't fight. She did not know why she was explaining this. But, her face felt even hotter after her explanation. Ha 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 ha. Chen Jin threw his head back in a great laugh. I know, you have a very gentle personality and a courageous heart that would do everything to help someone in need. This is very good, but you have to pay attention to your own safety too. There are too many scum in society. You have to protect yourself. Ahoy! I carry the self-protection 3-piece kit for ladies in my bag every day. Guo Yan tapped her head. The concern from the boss warmed her heart. Chu Wanting had divorced her husband and successfully freed herself from that man. Chen Jin sighed in relief. It was not that he could not wait for them to divorce, but he felt that her family's situation would always pose a potential risk. Huang Yude was a ticking time bomb who could threaten the daily operations of Forever Jewels anytime. Currently, Chu Wanting rented an apartment near Forever Jewels that was only a 5-minute walk away. In the future, she could commit herself fully to her work and provide a better service for the shop. Her income would then be secured. Hence, Chen Jin felt so sufficiently reassured after her divorce that he raised her salary to $80,000 just a few short days later. It was to celebrate her divorce too. He also really admired Guo Yan's brave act. He was seriously thinking about specially training her. Chu Wanting understood his intent and soon promoted her to assistant store manager. She imparted all her industry knowledge and experience that she had accumulated to Guo Yan. Thus, Chen Jin felt more reassured about the operations of the shop. One day, Chen Jin received a call. It was Director Dong at the Industry of Business and Commerce. Little Chen, are you free recently? You helped my daughter get more than 20 sets of WA robots. She's been wanting to treat you out to a meal to show her appreciation. But, you're always busy. Little Chen, this has been going on for more than a month, are you still unable to make some time for a meal? From the phone call, he could tell that her tone was somewhat complaining, and carried a trace of impatience. Chen Jin considered it for a moment and said, Auntie Dong, recently, I'm less busy. I'm free tomorrow. Director Dong said happily, good, show some sensitivity for her feelings and let her treat you to a meal to show her thanks. Chen Jin nodded. Okay. Chapter 88, Suspicions. Yuan Lin was at home, holding a big teddy bear and pinching its ears. Mom, he's finally free. Half of her pretty face was hidden behind the teddy bear. With a complaining tone, she said, HMMPH, what's he so busy with? Isn't he only setting up a company? I have a company too, why am I not as busy as him? My daughter, how can your little foreign trading company be compared to Chen Jin's big enterprise? Your company can only earn a maximum of a few million annually. As for his company, it has already sold a few million robots. I predict that he can sell at least 10 million robots in total. Even if he only earns a profit of $100 per robot, he is already worth more than $1 billion. Dong Lei shook her head. She had a feeling that she had severely misjudged him. At the very beginning, she did not think that his startup would have good prospects. She thought that he would only have a 50% chance of success. It was impossible to succeed so easily. But in the end, within 6 months, the WA robot had swept across the whole country. 1 million robots were all sold out within 2 hours via online pre-orders. The company had risen very rapidly in the market ranks, and incredible profits were generated. It was way beyond her expectations, which really shocked her. For the first time, she felt that this seemingly ordinary fellow was not quite so ordinary after all. Yuan Lin pursed her mouth and griped, acting like a hotshot just because you have money? Just because you have money, you can't even free up a few hours. However, her voice became softer and weaker as 2 sentences suddenly appeared in her mind. Sorry, I am a hotshot because I have money. For each minute of my time, there are transactions worth millions being carried out, I have no time for your idle talk. The image of a ridiculously young, rich, extremely busy and successful boss arose in her mind. She really wanted to scold, ridicule, and find fault with him, but realized that she was unable to do so. It was normal for the rich to be busy. Only the desperately poor had time to goof around daily. She had no reasons to criticize him. After knowing that he would be free tomorrow, that little grudge in her heart dissipated like smoke. In turn, she became filled with anticipation. She would be able to see the billionaire who invented the WA robot tomorrow. He was only a year younger than her. It was very exciting to just think about the meeting. Lin, do you have his contact details? Lin, can you help to recommend me? Can you introduce me to that Chief Chen so we can become acquainted? Okay, Lin, I'm begging you. Can you give me his number? My family is nagging me so urgently, my mom will break my legs if I don't find a partner soon. Lin, can you help me ask for a signature? I'll give you one of my photos so that he can sign the back of it. After all the 20+ WA robots had been sent out to her friends in her social circle, she had received countless private messages. Every day, they would pester and even beg her. Even that fake bestie who had blocked and deleted her contact in a fit of anger after she had exposed her lies and hypocrisy actually sent her a friend request. She claimed that she had accidentally deleted her contact, and asked if she could please be added as her friend again. Yuan Lin decisively tapped on reject. In short, within this period of time, she got extreme satisfaction from being surrounded by various forms of flattery, fawning, and praise. However, she felt extremely anxious at the same time. It has been more than a month, why hasn't the fellow taken the time out to come see me? Now that her mom had gotten his reply that he would be free tomorrow, Yuan Lin could finally breathe a sigh of relief. She felt that it had finally been settled. With this meeting, nobody would doubt her words anymore when she told them that she knew the president of Xinghai Technologies and was friends with him. However, for some unknown reason, her cheeks felt slightly warm. Her mood and attitude were very complicated. She was happy and filled with anticipation. At the same time, she also felt some awkwardness. It was because she had a terrible impression of him at their last meeting and left on an unhappy note. She had only wanted to distance herself. And now, it was as if she was the one begging him to meet. Her reserve and pride as a girl disappeared in an instant. She became energetic and proactive. This was somewhat inconceivable. Yuan Lin thought, perhaps I was too intoxicated by the countless flattery surrounding me in my social circle. Noticing the complicated emotional changes wrought on her daughter's face, the corners of Dong Lei's lips quirked up in a little smile. With the wisdom of her experience also came a teasing look in her eyes. She seemed to have seen through everything. With a sincere and earnest tone, she said, "Daughter, based on my judgment, little Chen has a pretty good character. He's also very successful in his business. So, you have to seize this opportunity. There are good men in this world, but they are in the minority. Once you meet one, you have to strike fast. And you must strike early. After little Chen becomes more successful in his business, he'll be out of your reach in terms of social and financial status. It'll be impossible even if you want to fight for him. Even I won't be able to call him little Chen anymore." "Mom!" Yuan Lin shouted rather bashfully, "What are you talking about? I simply want to treat him to a meal." However, a blush spread across her face. "Ha ha ha!" Dong Lei only gave a meaningful smile at her daughter's behavior. On the morning of the next day, Yuan Lin sat in front of the dresser doing her makeup for half an hour. She had prepped her appearance meticulously. Her makeup was slightly thicker than usual. Her features, which were already delicate and beautiful, looked even more radiant and arresting. She donned her long purple bohemian-style dress, a matching lady's straw hat and a pair of silver stilettos. She had the air of a goddess that was enhanced with her dress. Checking herself over in the mirror, she nodded in satisfaction. "Let's go." In the private room of a high-class restaurant in the downtown area, the two met again. You are?" Chen Jin was somewhat surprised. He said to the beautiful lady, "I feel like I've met you somewhere before." His memory was pretty good. In his mind, he still had a certain impression of this gorgeous lady in front of him. "Oh really? I think that I've met you somewhere too. Could this be the fate of legends?" Yuan Lin had intended to explain that she had a blind date with him previously. However, after taking a silent measure of this man, she could not help but swallow her words and change her story. As it had been a while since they saw each other, she noticed that Chen Jin had undergone some major changes. His physique had obviously become stronger and more muscular. One could see the sharp angles of his face. He gave her a very good impression as a handsome and well-dressed man. His gaze was steady and brimming with energy, his voice was loud and clear. He exuded the vibe of a successful man from the way he carried himself. As compared to the previous meeting, his overall image could be said to have undergone a major overhaul. It seems like this is indeed fate. Nice to meet you." Still, Chen Jin thought that he had met her somewhere before. As it could be nothing but a misconception, he complied with her words. "Hello, I'm the daughter of Dong Lei. My name is Yuan. Yuan Li. My English name is Lisa, you can address me as Lisa too. The main reason why I wanted to treat you to a meal today is to thank you. Thank you for helping me to get so many sets of WA robots." Yuan Lin had very unexpectedly, and rather unintentionally too, changed her name slightly in her self-introduction. She hoped that he would use her English name instead. "Hello Lisa, I'm Chen Jin. Chen written with an ear and an east. Jin from Jin Tian. Pleased to meet you." Chen Jin shook her hand. "You're too polite. You don't have to thank me like this, it was just a small matter." Yuan Lin gestured for the service staff. "Waiter, I'd like to order." She passed the menu to Chen Jin and he ordered some dishes that he liked. In the private room, the two of them began to chat while eating. They had an enjoyable chat, and Yuan Lin asked many questions regarding the WA robot. Chen Jin answered each and every one of them. "Wow, that's so cool. So that's how it was actualized? Ha ha ha, I think that the silly mode is so fun." Yuan Lin exclaimed from time to time with worship and admiration in her beautiful eyes. They chatted for a full 2 hours. After settling the bill, Chen Jin sent her down to the underground garage. They exchanged WeChat contacts and waved goodbye, saying to meet again for a chat the next time that they were free. In the Porsche, Yuan Lin brandished her little fist. "Yes." On the 20th of April, somewhere in the country, from inside the president's office of Rock Technologies came a doubtful voice. "This is weird. It's been more than a month, why has the supply chain of Singhai Technologies not been destroyed? Why has the company not gone bankrupt and collapsed?" Chapter 89, Quality Control Process. It had been 5 years since Cheng Yunfan started Rock Technologies. It was already a success to have persevered for 5 years as a high-tech company. In his own humble words, he had achieved a small success by this point in his life. At less than 40 years old, he was worth more than 100 million and could freely enjoy life. The cleaning robot that Rock Technologies had developed was now in its third generation. Customers' reactions were good and the product had accumulated total sales of over 1 million units. It had the second largest market share in the nation. The dummy cleaning robot by Dummy Company had the largest market share. It had accumulated total sales of over 2 million units. However, from a profit perspective, Dummy Company's net profit from each robot sold was only some tens of dollars, a mere tenth of the Rock robot. Dummy Company employed the business strategy of making a loss from the hardware, and profiting from the software. Through its low price, it had grabbed a large portion of the market share for cleaning robots. However, this market had not been fully developed. It had great potential for expansion. Dummy Company's involvement in this market had not seriously affected the sales of the Rock robot. On the contrary, it had led to even more interest in cleaning robots and promoted the growth of the market. The Rock robot, with its good reputation, experienced another wave of growth. Even so, in his private sphere, Chen Yunfeng hurled curses at the rival company. Monkey Lei! You're already dominating the mobile phone industry. How many small companies have been forced out of business because of you? Now, you even want a piece of the cleaning robot industry. You manufacture them at a high cost and sell them for pennies. Others want to profit even if you don't. His attitude towards the president of Dummy Company, Lei Xiaojun, was one of anger, frustration, and restlessness. However, when Xinghai Technologies had quickly sprung up with the speed of light at the beginning of this year, it had caused him to feel extreme terror. A performance level that was ahead of others by an era, and a price that was similar, with overwhelming praise from the public and a reputation that had swept across the country. This caused Cheng Yunfeng to become extremely unsettled and restless. He frequently woke up from nightmares with his back drenched in cold sweat. His dream of making his Rock Technologies into the second Dezhong Technologies in Z country was about to be dashed. It was especially so when he saw hundreds of thousands, even millions of WA robots being sold each time. The sales volume of the WA robot in 2 hours was more than the sum of what he sold in his 5 years of hard work. The sales volume of the Rock robot had dropped sharply, and a majority of consumers said that the WA robot was better in their reviews. He knew what he must do. In other words, he had to fight. He had to resist. Otherwise, Rock Technologies would not be able to survive another year in the face of this rapidly expanding giant of a primordial beast. So he would poach members from the rival company's development team. Noticing the giant loophole in the supply chain of his rival company, he immediately called to report the secret information via a phone call to a Japanese number. Having gone mad with joy, he said, with insufficient core components, you won't be able to deliver the goods. After about 10 days, Yaskawa Electric and Fanuc Corporation from Japan called back. Mr. Cheng. Lingfeng Jingmi Technologies did not come to sign the order contract. They did not accept the increase in our prices. Mr. Cheng, you've caused us to lose an order worth $3 million. You have to accept responsibility for our losses. Cheng Yunfan replied, no problem, I can take the responsibility. Rock Technologies will sign a $3 million order contract with you. The project of the Rocky robot had rapidly started after Manager Zhang from the Human Resource Department had poached Su Yuji and Wu Lei. Its progress was extremely fast. The Rocky robot, which was similar to the WA robot in terms of performance, could be introduced to the market within a month. It would swiftly fill the void caused by the severe lack of supplies of the WA robot. The staff from the 2 Japanese companies said, okay, but we want to raise the price by 50% for this batch of order. No, this is too much. I cannot accept this. The highest increase can only be 5%. We've heard that there is a model of cleaning robot that is trending in the country of GUI. It has caused the demand for brushless motors and the mobile components for mechanical arms to increase tenfold. As we have limited manufacturing resources, our prices have increased by at least 30%. At most, I can allow you to increase by 10%. Giving a sinister laugh, the staff replied, 30%. If you can't accept that, we'll just have to wait for a more attractive buyer. With a livid expression, Chen Yunfeng gritted his teeth and said, okay. After a month, the development of the Rocky robot was a success. Its mass production was about to begin. The technical team of Rock Technologies was celebrating in joy. Cheng Yunfan was immersing himself in the delight of the celebratory dinner. He was drinking heartily with the staff from the development team as they looked forward to the beauty of their success. However, a situation reported by the sales department immediately caused his smile to freeze and his brows to scrunch up. Chief Cheng, there has been no abnormality seen in the supply chain of Xinghai Technologies. The WA robot is still being distributed as per normal. Every day, there are tens of thousands of new comments on Doubao and Jingxi Mall. Consumers had indicated that the goods were delivered and gave 5-star ratings. What? Chen Yunfeng flatly denied, this is impossible. A layer of cold sweat beaded on his back. His face turned white and pinpricks of cold sweat beaded along his forehead. Pointing at the sales department manager, he bellowed, how could you only report such an important situation now? The manager felt very aggrieved. Chief Cheng, you've been staying at the development department every day for the past few days. You told me not to disturb you if there's nothing of importance. You pack your things and get lost right now. Although the sales manager was a distant relative of his, someone had to be responsible for such a huge mistake. After which, he selected some staff to conduct an investigation. Within 3 days, they had to find out the reason why there were no issues with Xinghai Technologies' supply chain. The next day, the investigation personnel bought 2 of the latest WA robots from a scalper at the price of $10,000 per unit. They proceeded to disassemble the robots. Finally, they found the reason. There is no manufacturer name, no product batch number, no quality certification. Chief Cheng, the core components that they've used as replacements are 2 types of uncertified components. They are counterfeit components produced in a domestic factory. Chen Yunfeng's anxious expression finally settled. His worries instantly vanished. He could not help but smirk. There really is no way but to make this sort of bad move, is there? But, this isn't wrong either. If it was me who was facing the same difficult circumstances, I'm afraid I would be forced to use this sort of method to solve the problem too. But it's still a dead end. What's the working lifespan of a Japan-imported component? And what's the working lifespan of a domestically produced counterfeit component? Don't you have an inkling of the differences? Your attempt to sell shoddy goods for the price of the originals is in vain. You deceive the consumers by using inferior counterfeit components to replace original imported components. This sort of thing has already been done by Huayao Company. They had a full-on public relations campaign in order to suppress the incident. Even so, the image of the company took a huge hit. How big is your company? How long have you been established? Yet, you dare to do this? Even I have to take my hat off. But, are the consumers idiots? Can they accept a product that costs a few $1000s but starts experiencing issues within 3 to 5 days? It's been over a month now. It seems like you've sold many inferior counterfeits. Now is the right time to expose the large-scale quality issues. However, after he got someone to do a check on the internet, he found out that there were no posts regarding the quality issues of the WA robot. More than 99% of the posts were favorable reviews. Could it be that the inferior counterfeit components in the body of the WA robots have a quality guarantee period of 2 months? Or someone had exposes the quality problems but the incident was quickly handled by Xinghai Technologies' Public Relations Department? No. Chen Yunfeng stomped his foot. No matter which situation it is, Rock Technologies can't just sit and do nothing. We have a civil duty to reveal the serious quality issues in the WA robot to the public. We have to take the initiative to expose them. This is something we have to do as an enterprise with a sense of social responsibility. This is a matter of utmost urgency. He immediately built a team in charge of exposing the issues and demanded that they use the various online channels to announce the quality issues in the WA robot to the public. The team should use the shortest amount of time possible to do so, and the more people that knew about the issues, the better. With a sense of justice, Chen Yunfeng said, I'll let you know, Xinghai Technologies, you'll be facing imminent demise for making inferior counterfeit products in Z country at the beginning of this year. He did not take a second look at the 2 types of counterfeit components lying on the table. He also did not request for someone to test them. Why test something that was an inferior counterfeit? On the 25th, while having his lunch at home, Chen Jin suddenly received a call. It was from the vice president, Liang Ying. Chief Chen, it's a disaster. A huge amount of posts have suddenly appeared on the internet since last night saying that our WA robots use components that are counterfeit and inferior. They say that there are huge quality issues and we are deceiving the consumers. It's caused a big uproar online. The topic is topping beta's hot search engine. Chief Chen, what should we do? Chen Jin put down his chopsticks and slowly raised his head. Oh! Not only was he not panicking, he even smiled. Giving a few words of appeasement to Liang Ying, he told her to settle down and said that he had an appropriate counter plan. Then, he hung up. Has it arrived? A malicious smirk appeared on the corners of his lips. He muttered, has the opportunity to advertise my company arrived? The saboteur from the same industry that desires the death of Xinghai Technologies. It's about time you gave yourself away. You should be able to let me know your identity. Hehe, a great performance was about to begin. Ah! Su-Yun was sitting across from him at the dining table and quietly eating her meal when she noticed the sinister smirk at the corners of his mouth. She felt as if her whole body was electrified. First she was stunned, then her heart started to beat rapidly and fiercely. Her pretty face quickly became red. After she recovered from her reaction, she swiftly ducked her head. However, her rapid heartbeat showed no signs of slowing. A voice reverberated in her mind, so handsome. Chapter 90, The Counterfeit Outstripped the Imported Originals. Su-Yun? How did she come to be in Chen Jin's home? Ever since she paid a visit there during the Lunar New Year, she had been coming at regular intervals. She would come at least once a week and would frequently stay over for lunch. Chen Jin asked his mom, why did Su-Yun come over to our home so frequently? He Li had explained that it was mainly for the demands of work. She planned to impart much of her accounting knowledge and experience to her disciple Su-Yun. He Li would be 51 this year. She would be able to retire in 4 years, so she had to make adequate preparations beforehand. Therefore, she often used her weekends to personally tutor Su-Yun. Chen Jin had nodded, but was still very doubtful. Well, tutoring is all fine and good, but why do you always drag Su-Yun along to go shopping with you? You even drag me along on those shopping trips too. A few days ago, she even gave him 2 movie tickets, telling him to catch a movie with Su-Yun. She recommended the movie The Poor of Eastern Hong City produced by Happy Mela. It was a comedy that was well praised by many. Chen Jin looked at the tickets and then turned to look at Su-Yun. He felt rather confused. Why are the 2 of us going? He Li explained, there were only 2 tickets left. The movie is for youngsters too, so I won't go to spoil the fun. Mom, you are young too, why can't you go to see the movie? I've been exhausted recently, so I plan to rest early. It's better for the 2 of you to watch the movie. Son, it's because you are tired. That's the reason why you need to watch a movie to relax. After He Li persuaded him in every way she could, she finally got the 2 of them out of the house. She sneaked a meaningful glance to Su-Yun that caused Su-Yun's face to blush. Chen Jin impatiently went to watch the movie. The movie was indeed good. Su-Yun, who was sitting beside him, remained quiet and did not talk much. She gave off an air of being snobbish and cold, but Chen Jin rather liked it. He disliked girls that were chatty and too clingy. An intangible sense of distance and a gentle and quiet personality. He thought those traits were pretty good. Slowly, he became accustomed to Su-Yun's presence. Never once did he think that he might have fallen into his mother's brilliant trap. After understanding that Xinghai Technologies had fallen into a very troublesome situation, Su-Yun could not help but ask, will there be too much trouble? The rumors on the internet are too wicked. Even if there were a few issues with quality, they can call the after-sales service for maintenance and repair. If it was really impossible, they can just ask for a refund. Why cause such a big fuss? She had taken a look at the related news. The comments were filled with calls for punitive measures to be taken. Messages such as unscrupulous and dishonest merchant closed down, were left all over the internet. It caused her heart to tremble in fear. How would Xinghai Technologies deal with this? Chen Jin looked at her. I'll let you do some corrections. Since the first day of sales, 1,500,000 units of WA robots have been sold. Of those, there were a total 23 customers who responded that there were faults. After-sales staff from Xinghai Technologies resolved those issues within 24 hours. Before yesterday, there was not a single customer who requested a refund. It's because they know that they can earn a few $1,000s by selling them to the scalpers instead. We should ask this: if the WA robot had a substandard quality, how did it come to enjoy such a good word-of-mouth reputation? If product quality was not important to Xinghai Technologies, why would we waste the time and energy to build an excellent after-sales system so as to provide a better after-sales service to the customers? The fact is that it's slander. This is a despicable smear campaign. The number of hits have exceeded 500 by far. Maybe they've already reached a count in the tens of millions. This would satisfy the condition for one to be sentenced to prison for 3 years. Once the number of hits have exceeded 50 million and caused an enormous impact, one could even be sentenced to 5 years or more. Depending on the situation, Xinghai Technologies might even hold the sword of the law. Oh, Su Yun's eyes sparkled with an extraordinary light. It seems like you already know what to do in response. She was smart, she could see that he already had a plan in mind. She immediately felt relieved. Somewhere in the country, 10 computer screens were lit up in a mysterious workroom. The sound of people typing on keyboards rose and ebbed in waves, click-clack click-clack. Introduce yourself to the editor of the Cape forums and enlist his help in transforming this post into a premium post and making it viral. It will be pinned for 24 hours. Then, transfer $800 over to him. There aren't enough page views for this news article and the comments are too little. Refresh the page 1 million times immediately. Refresh the comment section 1000 times. Have you introduced yourself to the VIPs of the microblogs? There are serious problems with the quality of the WA robots. Ask for their help in spreading the message. I want you to capture post bar, WeChat friends, Baihu, all of them. Expose the mass quality defect of the WA robot on all platforms. Qing Huohuo clasped his hand behind his back and walked past each computer unit as he commanded his internet mercenaries to launch a battle. He gained immense satisfaction from this moment. He felt as if he was an emperor who controlled thousands of troops and millions of horses. In the online world, he could move about freely and quickly, directing the movements of his empire. He could let his passions soar and cast aside all restraints. Nobody was his opponent. Those ignorant and stupid netizens were only capable of venting emotionally. They were blind followers without any ability for rational judgment. As such, they only acted as his cheap ammunition, and puppets controlled by his mercenaries. He could easily gather a force that was made up of millions. He would wait until the situation reached its very worst phase and the government departments were forced to interfere before erasing all traces of himself. He would take the money and leave. There had never been a mistake in his plans. Moreover, it was an indisputable fact that the WA robot used inferior counterfeit components. It was only a matter of time before quality issues would appear. Hence, this was not slander, he was just zooming in on the details and exposing the problem before it happened. After Cheng Yunfan had transferred $5 million to him, he had immediately taken action by commanding his internet mercenaries. Their work had swept across the online world. The netizens' responses were within his expectations. Unscrupulous merchant, something that costs $3,000 can only be used for a month at most. Has your heart been eaten by a beast? A domestically produced piece of rubbish counterfeit component only has a production cost of about $10 per unit. My God, do you want to make profits so much that you've gone mad? Xinghai Technologies is a big liar. They are just doing a one-off business. When quality problems with the product appeared, I couldn't even reach the after-sales service. Friends, everyone, do not buy the WA robot from Xinghai Technologies at all cost. I say, how could they sell it for so cheap? Logically speaking, how can a robot that is worth $10,000 be sold for only $3,000? It'll be stranger if there was no issues with the quality. Refund. I want a refund immediately. Yes, I want a refund immediately. In the face of the netizens' agitation and outrage, as well as the tide of public opinion that became increasingly turbulent, Xinghai Technologies' response seemed rather placid. With regards to the quality issues, we are doing our best to investigate. We agree to a full refund for customers who need to return the items. The situation has been thoroughly investigated. We will hold a press conference on the 28th of April, 10 a.m. We will openly answer all questions related to the quality control process. There were also some rational observers within the netizen population. Wang Xing, an ordinary salaryman who graduated from university not long ago, was prospecting for his future in a third-tier city. His monthly salary was only a little more than $3,000. Even so, the WA robot had captured his attention. When the second round of pre-orders had started, he took out the money saved from working for more than 2 months to hastily buy a WA robot. His main purpose was to help his mother reduce her burden. She had a serious lumbar disc protrusion and was unable to bend her waist for a long period of time. It was extremely painful for her to clean the house each time. The WA robot arrived after 2 weeks. However, his mother scolded him and complained to him. How could he simply buy something that costs thousands of dollars? Doesn't he know that he should save the money as a betrothal gift when he marries? But, after using for half a month, even she, who usually nitpicked over cleanliness, had to admit that the robot was really useful. After the quality control process incident had been exposed, causing a big uproar online, Wang Xing became doubtful too. Were there problems existing in the WA robot that he was using? Armed with a mechanical engineering degree from his university days, he disassembled the robot using his tools. Indeed, he saw two types of uncertified components. At first glance, he did feel cheated. It was so obvious that those were uncertified counterfeits. The first impression he got from the components was that there must be a problem with the quality. However, he possessed the rigor of someone who was from engineering, and did not apply for a refund at the first opportunity. Instead, he took those two counterfeit components to his workplace. After work, he made use of the company's equipment to carry out a series of tests on them. The results of the tests were very surprising. The performance capability of the two counterfeit components were not that terrible. On the contrary, they were excellent. On the night of the 27th, a video titled "This is the quality of our domestically produced core components" was simultaneously uploaded onto the official website of Xinghai Technologies and the Doubao shop of the WA robot, as well as Bilibili videos and Jingxi Mall. Wang Xing clicked on this 20-minute-long video. He felt his blood boiling with indignation. The impact test. The video was about the performance capability of the components from 4 different brands and 2 different products. How well could they stand up to an impact test? The counterfeit component versus the one imported from Japan. What are the results of the comparison? They used the example of the brushless motor. The working lifespan of the counterfeit was 1.5 times that of the imported model. The greatest output of the counterfeit was 20% more than the imported model. In terms of reliability, the counterfeit won. In terms of operational control, the counterfeit won. In the tests of falls, crashes, high temperatures, low temperatures, and the many other tests of extremes that were carried out, the counterfeit had emerged victorious in them all. In all 9 tests, the counterfeit brushless motor had outstripped the Japanese imports. After watching the video, Wang Xing exclaimed, "How is this an inferior counterfeit component? This is a superhuman component, the god of all cleaning components. This is a hunter that plays the pig in order to lure the tiger." The comment section under the video had also broken out in a flurry. Chapter 91, End of the World. How is it possible? That's impossible. How can the quality of the parts manufactured locally be better than that of the imported Japanese ones? I study aviation design and I have used brushless motors for airplane design before. I can tell that in the current brushless motor area, the quality of the local products must be far behind the ones imported from Japan. This video is fake. The video is fake, and the parts are fake. This is just like the Hangzhen scandal. If it's real, how come it is a product of 3 no's? No product number, no quality certification, and no production unit. Why? Are you blind? They've explained in the video. The batch of spare parts were only testing products. They couldn't add the product number because they were rushing to meet the production quantity. Besides, if the parts were fake, would they perform even better than the imported parts? That's right, if you copy from the top student in the exam and get 100 mark, then the top student can accuse you of copying. But if you score 120, which is even higher than the top student, can the copying accusation explain this? The skeptics were furious and said, "This explains that the video is absolutely fake, it's a sham." Immediately someone replied to him, "Oh, you fawning dog and apple polisher of the Japanese, you have knelt under them for so long that you can't even stand up now? If foreigners can succeed, why can't China achieve the same? I believe the video is real." Wang Xing also replied, "I took the WA robot apart and tested the 2 parts inside, the performance was not bad, but actually outstanding, so I believe the video is real too." The netizens were divided into 2 parties, the skeptics and the believers, sparking off a heated debate. But in general, the skeptics gained the upper hand. After all, in the area of brushless motor and the moving parts of the mechanic arms, China had been far behind Japan, but all of a sudden, China caught up and even surpassed it, therefore they thought it was fake, subconsciously believing that it was a sham. Wang Xing, who joined the Believers' Party, strove his best to explain, but still, he failed to convince the majority. Considering that Xinghai Technology would hold a press conference at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and it would be willing to take on doubts and answer any questions regarding the equality scandal, the netizens decided to call a ceasefire and see how Shanghai Technology would respond. The next day, at 10 o'clock in the morning, the press conference of AOU Shanghai Technologies was having a grand opening in the news hall of a hotel. More than 100 media organizations and more than 200 journalists were there. Some of them were invited and some asked to come. Well-known media companies such as Xinglang, Tencent, Baidu, and NetEcho were all there. Hao Jian, the manager of public relations, which was the temporarily established department of Shanghai Company, was responsible for holding the press conference. He was a man with a funny name and a pretty good image. Professional and eloquent, he was responsible for answering all questions raised by the media and journalists. Hao Jian made a self-introduction and announced the start of the conference. After that, countless journalists raised their hands. Mr. Hao, can you please explain the reasons for the WA robot's quality problem? Were the disclosure posts real? The WA robot can only be used for up to 2 months. Do you really use low-cost counterfeit parts? All kinds of questions were raised. Calm down, ladies and gentlemen. Hao Jian signaled, before answering your questions, please allow me to play a video. In this era, in the face of widespread rumors, any verbal clarification is in vain, and Shanghai Technologies is not good at explaining, so we will just let the facts speak. Everyone, please watch the video. Hao Jian pointed his fingers to the screen behind him, and the lights in the room dimmed. A video played. It was the "This is the quality of our country's core parts" video uploaded last night by Shanghai Technology. 20 minutes later, the video ended. Some journalists were shocked and amazed. The core parts of our country are so powerful. But one journalist laughed coldly and said, I watched this video last night. It is fake from the first glance. You prepared that beforehand, it's not trustworthy at all. Hao Jian said, we know there will be some doubters. So we are doing an ultimate violent test right here, right now. Seeing is believing, journalists. Looking at that journalist, waved his hand and said, bring all the machines and equipment to the stage. In a series of noise and hustle, dozens of equipment was carried to the press room. The journalists were shocked. Shit, the press conference had turned into a field test. Then a total of 5 ultimate violent tests were conducted before hundreds of media cameras. The maximum power test incessantly increased the voltage and current until it was overloaded, and the brushless motor burned down. The high temperature work test incessantly increased the working temperature until it exceeded the capacity and the brushless motor broke down. The low temperature work test continuously lowered the working temperature until it could not function properly. The repeated drop test and violent shock test was given until the equipment failed to work. More than an hour later, the final test ended. The results were obvious. The brushless motor with the 3NOS triumphed, beating the imported Japanese products. But still, a journalist put forward his doubt. The tests you are doing are all short-term tests. The consumers have to use WA robots for at least years. Can you guarantee that your brushless motors can work for 20,000 hours without any malfunction? Hao Jian replied, if you are willing to stay and participate in the long-term test, we welcome you to join the testing department of Shanghai Technologies and take part in the long-term tracking test. We can offer several posts for you. Another journalist asked, then where do you get your parts? Are they really 100% made in China? Can you tell us more about the manufacturers? Hao Jian shook his head and said, this is not something I can answer. All you need to know is that the WA robots of Shanghai Technologies do not have any problems. Our core parts are perfectly up to standard and even excel imported products. This is a fact. I believe all of you witnessed that just now with your own eyes. But some journalists were not convinced and asked, then how do you explain the quality problems exposed on the internet? 10,000 WA robots malfunctioned at the same time, how do you explain that? Those were rumors, malicious rumors. We've already gathered enough evidence to file a report to the police. The slanderers will be arrested very soon if everything goes smoothly. Shanghai Technologies will not tolerate any nasty slanderers. We will file a lawsuit and bring the slanderers to justice using legal weapons. Ring ring ring. Just then he received a call. After answering it, his face lit up, and he immediately announced to the journalists, good news. The police from the capital just called, saying that they've cracked down on a slanderers organization, and caught 23 criminals. Ah! The journalists were all in shock. Bang! Don't move! Put your hands in the air, put them behind your back and kneel down. Don't play tricks with me, kneel down now. When the door of the studio was kicked open, a lot of police officers dashed in, shouting don't move, don't move. The renowned online influence, Ching Huo, was completely lost. His mind was blank. How did the police find them? He was very careful and never left any trace. His accounts were all sock puppet. Using the virtual private network, he avoided exposing the local IP address. How did the police find his spot and catch him red-handed? He didn't even have time to remove the evidence, and the police had already taken away everything. How did the police do that? 100,000 whys popped into Ching Huo's mind. The police officers fastened the cold handcuffs to him. His arms were twisted in pain and his head was pressed down, with the shouting of kneel down echoing in his ears. This was when his arrogant head finally bowed. The glory and arrogance in his emperor-like eyes slowly dissipated and finally disappeared. There are only two words echoing in his brain: it is over. On planet Hierophant, at the base of operations, Chen Jin unplugged a cable from the routing switch and nodded. Alice, you've done a good job. Master, this is a piece of cake. Which generation does this network technology belong to? It's too backward, and loopholes are everywhere. Don't ask something that you don't need to know, understand? Chen Jin glared at her. Yes, Master, Alice said, sticking out her tongue. After the slanderers' organization was shut down, the police released a huge amount of authoritative evidence. On the internet, public opinion reversed rapidly about the contested quality scandal of the WA robots. A professional gang of slanderers could fool millions and millions of the netizens, luring them into their tricks so that they fell into the unconscious state. Apparently, it is still a long way to go if we are to improve the quality of the people. Ching Huo was right about one thing: an online publicity stunt requires one to fool the netizens. It has to incite their feeling and emotions so that the status one climbed in a lifetime, the honor earned and the wealth accumulated in their entire life will be crushed into pieces overnight. Then a person or a topic will grow and prosper on top of the dead bodies of the three publicity stunt targets. Rumors will not stay by the wise, but the next rumor. This is the sorrow of our time. Some people are idiots. They didn't buy WA robots themselves but attacked its quality. For those who bought the robot, they just returned the products in a hurry even though the products were working just fine. Are they all nuts? How many more people are still kneeling down and cannot stand up? Who says the quality of the local parts must be far behind the foreigners? Our enterprises have been advancing, don't tell me they can't catch up, hey. Everyone has misunderstood Xinghai Technologies. WA robots don't have any quality problems. Those who remain skeptical about the quality can take the robots to professional organizations for testing anytime. Xinghai Technologies said that it will refund 10 times the price if the robot is fake. As for those who are still spreading malicious rumors, I hope that your comments will be flagged. I returned my WA robot, can I buy it back? Me too. I was misled by the others. The online rumors were too evil. I want to buy my robot back too. It's too tiring to clean by myself. Ouch, I suddenly realized that without the WA robot, I can't accommodate to the chores at all. I don't even want to touch the mop, and I can't ask my wife to do the chores as well. WA, your master is wrong. Xinghai Technologies, can you resell the WA to me? I will pay more. After reading these comments, Wang Xing shook his head helplessly. A bunch of people without independent thinking, they only know how to follow the crowd. Cleaning for a few days is only a trivial lesson for you. You asked for it. A bunch of reflective and regretful voices appeared on the internet. WA robots felt needed again. Its brand impression went straight back up. The scalpers, who almost suffered unbearable losses because of the piled-up WA robots, raised the price back to above 10,000. In Beijing, although it was daytime, Cheng Yunfan found everything before him dark. The quality scandal of the WA robot was proven to be rumors. Xinghai Technologies was safe and sound. The production of WA robots continued to proceed. As soon as the press conference for Rock Robot was held, Xinghai Technologies filed a lawsuit, accusing Rock Technologies of multiple patent infringements. With the solid evidence, the court ruled that Robot Rock could not be sold in the market unless it paid enough compensation to Xinghai Technologies. But where could he get the money? He had taken all the company's cash flow just for the 3 million spare parts order of the two Japanese companies. Moreover, he placed the company, his estate property, and his cars as collateral in order to borrow dozens of $100 million. Ching Huohuo was arrested and in prison. In order to reduce the sentence, he went crazy in accusing others, including Cheng Yunfan, the leader behind the scene. The police summoned him and requested an investigation. Once he was convicted, he would be facing a sentence of 3 years in imprisonment. It's over. Everything is over. I've lost the battle. I've lost everything. I still have some savings of over $100,000. I'll divorce my wife tomorrow, then find a higher rooftop. I'll strive again in the business filed in the next life. The next day, after divorcing his wife in the Civil Affairs Bureau, Cheng Yunfan found a building with over 20 floors. He enjoyed the last few seconds of his life, and then freed himself into the sky. Chapter 92, An Experience with Virtual Reality. The game had ended. The winner and loser made themselves manifest. The winner took it all. Xinghai Technologies extricated itself from all the troubles and predicaments, receiving enormous publicity, and thus tightly grabbing the leading position in the cleaning robot market without any more threats. The loser got destroyed, Rock Technologies dissolved and declared bankruptcy. The founder Cheng Yunfan, who lost all his reputation and was left with only infamy, jumped off the building and committed suicide, leaving much chaos and troubles behind. Upon reading the news, Chen Jin couldn't help but sigh. If this was just about normal business competition and stealing some technicians from my company, I wouldn't do anything to you. After all, your company raised more than 100 families. Considering the living of these hundreds of families, I don't mind giving a slice of a share to you. But you were really too greedy and nasty. Whistleblowing, spreading rumors and slandering, you were determined to destroy Xinghai Technologies by hook or by crook. If I didn't have Planet Higher Fa, you would really win. What a pity that you wasted your talent in a fair technology company, all of them were ruined because of your momentary foolishness. Chen Jin sighed like he was shedding a crocodile tear, making him a bit hypocritical. But this was exactly the cruelty of business competition. In Japan, at the Iskawa Electric Corporation, a meeting was happening. Mr. Minami, the corporation is sending you to China to investigate a mysterious brushless motor. Bullshit. The people in Xinghai Technologies said the performance of their brushless motors surpass ours. That's impossible. Mr. Minami, make a trip to China, you must investigate the whole thing thoroughly, said a muscular middle-aged man. Yes, manager, said Shoki Minami, a young Japanese man, as he bowed. A similar meeting was happening at Fanuc Robot Corporation. Mr. Noda, I have a task for you. Make a trip to China. You have to investigate AOU Xinghai Technologies to see which supplier helped them solve the supply problem of the mechanic arms moving parts. It is very likely that they have infringed on our technology patent. Yes, manager, said Masao Noda, who was in his early 30s. By April 30th, Chen Jin had already carried the spare parts from Planet Higher Fa to Earth for 45 days. 50,000 per day, multiplied by 45, meant a total of 2,250,000 sets of spare parts were transported to the Earth by Chen Jin. That was enough for the factory to manufacture 2 million WA robots. Adding the 1 million WA robots in the first place, the factory could produce more than 3 million WA robots in total. Therefore, on the 30th of April, the official stores of Xinghai Technologies on Doubao, 360buy.com, etc., opened the third batch of WA robots pre-order. As a result, all of the 500,000 robots were sold out in only 15 minutes. After the 3 million WA robots were sold out, Chen Jin made a decision: he would stop manufacturing the first generation of WA robots, and shift to prepare the mass production of an improved version of WA Robot 1.0. Indeed, the improvement was so very little that Chen Jin didn't feel right to call it WA Robot 2.0, so he could only add the word improved before 1.0. Meaning that apart from the small improvements made, there wasn't much difference in essence. Of course, from others' point of view, it was definitely an all-round improvement and an excellence of quality. But Chen Jin just wouldn't be bold-faced enough to agree with that, because according to the technical route planned in his mind, this kind of upgrade was only the tip of the iceberg with the goal to earn money, but without any sincerity. The production of the first generation WA robot had stopped, and recently the research and development of the improved 1.0 generation was basically finished. After achieving the mass production, Chen Jin decided to focus on WA Robot 2.0 and gather some major features to make an epoch-making upgrade. On Planet Higher Fa, at the base of operations, in a large steel room with a length of 30 meters, a width of 10 meters and a height of nearly 5 meters, Alice's new body was placed inside the room. The new body consisted of 306 giant red cabinets, with a maximum computing capacity of 1 sextillion, and power consumption of 3000 kilowatts. After a full startup, in order to dissipate the tremendous heat of the hardware, the air conditioning compressor placed outside the steel room was going to emit cool air of -50 degrees, cooling down the room temperature to below -20 degrees, so as to maintain the best working condition of the calculator. Not bad. The robots carried the supercalculator Scarlet found in Rockford City to the base. They cleaned the dust, and it was successfully launched after a few adjustments and testing. With the tremendous help from the robots, Alice couldn't wait to devour the whole calculator. At present, Alice had completed the upgrade from AI level 16 to level 22. She had the ability to build a virtual environment. The virtual world that Chen Jin was so looking forward to had finally become something that could be reached. He immediately asked Alice to build a mini virtual reality so that he could get a taste of it. Sure, Master, the virtual reality is built. Within 10 minutes, Alice built a virtual world. In fact, she used the data that was originally stored in Scarlet to activate an existing virtual reality. This activated virtual world was exactly like Rockford City, or rather the virtual Rockford City. The degree of resemblance could reach 99.9%, making it no different from the real Rockford City. That's why it was called virtual reality. The virtual world was created, and the virtual helmets used to log into the virtual world could be found everywhere in Haifa. After collecting a large pile of them, Alice picked a few good ones and lay them in front of Chen Jin so as to let him choose. Master, first the left one, it is an OAS-8 model produced by the Oasis company, with a maximum resemblance degree of 87%. The advantage is that it is comfortable, natural, and safe. Master, the middle one is a TNT-11 virtual helmet produced by Sync Company, with a maximum resemblance degree of 91%. The strong immersion and good operability are its strength. The last one is a Sub-15 virtual helmet produced by Jizzy Company, with a maximum resemblance degree of 95%. It pursues extreme resemblance and it is definitely the choice for the hardcore players. Chen Jin looked at the 3 virtual helmets and didn't know how to choose. The last one seemed to be the choice, the higher the degree of resemblance, the better. But Alice explained that the resemblance of the virtual helmet and the resemblance of the virtual world deployed in the server were 2 different concepts. As long as the computing capacity of the calculator was high enough, the resemblance of the virtual world could reach 99.9999%, infinitely close to 100%. The resemblance of the virtual helmet was related to the performance of the 3-dimensional monitor, brainwave receiver, neural connector, and other components in the virtual helmet. It was directly used in the player's senses in the brain, and the resemblance could never reach 100%, but only infinitely close to it. The higher degree of resemblance wasn't necessarily better. The closer the player was to the reality, the deeper the bioelectric probe of the nerve connector penetrates into the skin, the greater the current generated, and the greater the fluctuation of the cortex. Once you encountered danger in the virtual world, the extreme resemblance could bring about intense stimulation and thus damage the brain. In the worst case, it would lead to death. But for the hardcore players who pursue extreme resemblance, they were never afraid of danger. But Chen Jin thought for a while. In the end, he chose the OAS-8 virtual helmet of Oasis Company because the bioelectric probe inside was shorter, so it would not penetrate the skin, unlike the Sub-15 virtual helmet of the Jizzy Company, which was full of long probes inside, as if they were about to go into his brain. In addition, since it was his first experience, Alice suggested that for safety reasons, he should adjust the resemblance of the virtual helmet to less than 50%, and the sense of pain to 0%. All right. Chen Jin did everything Alice suggested. He laid down on the metal armchair, put on the virtual helmet, and entered the virtual world. His mind was wandering in the face of the endless bright light before him. When he came to himself, and slowly opened his eyes, he found himself on a green meadow. Chirp, 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 the sound of birds echoed in his ear. He took a deep breath, and he could actually smell the aroma of flowers. The breeze lightly stroked his skin, and the overall temperature was very comfortable. The blue sky and white clouds, the rows and rows of skyscrapers, aircrafts flying in the air, the hustle and bustle of vehicles and people, it was like a vividly real world. Master, I can give you a tour of the city. Alice appeared next to him, dressed in a princess gown, jumping around. While Chen Jin was wandering in his mind, she grabbed his hand and toured around the city with him. As an AI that could modify the rules as she wished, Alice could stop the time, ask the river to flow backward, make the traffic disappear, adjust the gravity parameters, and even move to any corner of the city in a second. She was the god of this world. Of course, Chen Jin could be the same. On an aircraft above the city, overlooking the landscape of the entire city and staring at the far-reaching skyline, Chen Jin sighed emotionally. This is the real future. He thought about the Earth's side. It was a new century that pursued the virtual world. In 20x6, this saying was widespread among the game players because it was the VR year. Many technology companies introduced various kinds of VR products such as VR glasses and VR games. Considering that the player could have a brand new experience after putting on the VR equipment, the excitement did last for a while. But the craze couldn't last for 2 years. As the craze disappeared, many related companies shut down and the players only constituted a minority. VR did not continue to develop. What was the reason? The requirement of hardware configuration was so high that purchasing a set of VR equipment cost over $10,000. The experience was still very unpleasing, as well. Improvements were only made visually, but a handle must be held during the operation, and the players needed to turn their head and move their bodies. Mind control was not available. Also, the video refresh rate was not high, therefore it was easy for players to feel dizzy. There had been many incidents of accidental electricity leakage, falling to one's death. Safety was a major concern. Similar to VR was augmented reality, AR, yet it associated too much with reality, which led to average immersion experience, so it was neither fish nor fowl. I say, only the virtual helmet is the right path and the bright future. Chen Jin said, such a virtual world and virtual helmet are really needed. Chapter 93, Chief Executive Officer. Even though the technology of simulated reality was good and provided one with a fantastic experience, it was still impossible to bring it over to Earth to transform it into a cash cow project. In order to create and execute a large-scale simulated environment, a supercalculator with a high-performing operational ability was required. It had to have an operational ability that could count to 100 quintillion and above. Manufacturing a simulated reality headgear was not only extremely difficult, but also required medical knowledge of the human brain. It demanded a high level of security. Organizations that had not done ample research on the human brain had no right to develop a simulated reality headgear. With Earth's current pace of development, Chen Jin predicted that even after 30 to 50 years, a simulated reality headgear still might not be created. Of course, he certainly hoped that such a fantastic thing like simulated reality headgear would be realized earlier on Earth. However, he could not bring it over immediately. He had to wait for at least 5 to 10 years. A genius is half a step ahead of others, a madman is 1 step ahead. If one is 10 or 20 steps ahead, then he would be courting death. I still have to take it step by step. In addition, he entered a simulated high school in the process of experiencing the simulated world with Alice. After sitting in on 2 classes, Chen Jin suddenly thought of an idea. Besides the cleaning robot, he thought of a second project with a huge potential for development. Once the project was successful, it would carve out a market that was at least 5 times larger than the market of the cleaning robot. Knowledge is wealth. With knowledge, one has the ability to change fate. It is okay to eat and dress like the poor, but no matter how poor one is, he absolutely cannot have a poor education. Parents in Z country always stress that their children cannot lose out at the starting line. The product that I'll make is an accelerated runway that facilitates acceleration until the very end. I would like to ask, parents, are you moved? Will you fork out the money? Do you dare to buy? It's done. It's a 100% done deal. Chen Jin was very excited. With regards to this second project, he felt that as long as the product could be created, it would achieve success even more easily than the WA robot. He muttered to himself, once the WA Original 1.0 is announced, I'll immediately recruit staff and set up a new project team. The second project will start. In the early afternoon of May 1st, it would logically be a day off for some rest and relaxation. However, a meticulously dressed man in a western suit and leather shoes arrived at the ground floor of Xinghai Technologies. His name was Ling Zhendong. He was 33 years old and had a decade of experience as a chief executive officer, CEO. He was admitted to the University of Essence at 16 years old. When he was 19, he was admitted into the Harvard Business School of America. At 22, he had achieved a doctorate in economics. After graduation, he started working. He had taken up the post of CEO in as many as 9 companies, 2 of which were foreign companies, and 7 were enterprises in Z country. His curriculum vitae could be rated as vivid and abundant. He did not want to talk too much about his working experiences in foreign companies. No matter how well he did, the deep-rooted xenophobia in foreign countries ensured that he was never rewarded with respect and admiration, only jealousy and resentment. However, he did accumulate 2 years of valuable work experience abroad. There was greater room in his country for professional development and a larger stage to shine. He had also achieved good results within a few domestic enterprises. He had helped 3 companies get listed successfully. He had helped to boost the average sales of 3 companies up to 150%. He had helped a company mired in debt to walk out of the woods and restored the health of its financial statements. It could be said that Ling Zhendong's resume was filled with success. This caused Chen Jin to become very curious. Hence, he deliberately made a trip to the company to conduct a face-to-face interview. Chen Jin put down the resume. Resting his elbows on the table, he interlaced his fingers. He looked at him and asked, "In your resume, I noticed that you've taken up posts at as many as 7 companies. And these are just the domestic companies. In each company, you've served your post for an average of about a year. You change jobs very frequently, may I ask what is the reason?" Xinghai Technologies needs a CEO that can act in a stable and long-term capacity. To be exact, the average time that I've served in my post for each of the 7 companies is only 7 months. The longest that I've stayed in a company was only a year and a half, Ling Zhendong said mildly, unconcerned with the surprise on Chen Jin's face. "So, you prefer to job hop?" Ling Zhendong shook his head. "I do not like to job hop. However, I feel that when it's time to go, I should take the initiative to leave. I don't like to be kicked out." "Oh, what do you mean? Can you explain it for me?" Chen Jin was rather curious. He felt there must be a reason behind his statement. Ling Zhendong asked with a smile, "Chief Chen, do you want to know?" Chen Jin nodded. Ling Zhendong stretched out a hand and formed a number 7 with his fingers. He said, 7 years. After a maximum of 7 years, an enterprise that originally had good momentum for development will embark on its end. It will soon meet its death. There are a variety of reasons. Some companies start to fail because of inexperience, some because of errors in decision-making, some because of a rigid system, some because of chaotic management, but more than 90% of the reasons for failure are tied to the company's founder. It can be said that the founder's character, ability, IQ, EQ, his personal concept of the world, his outlook on life and personal values, etc., determines the success or failure of a company. But unfortunately, in the 7 companies that I've served, they could not escape from the process of a strong ascent, then falling into chaos, and finally death. I call it the 7 years law. Of course, my arrival will bring about a certain level of improvement to the company's state of operation. But, what's unfortunate is that their move towards chaos remains an irreversible process like the entropy of the universe. I am unable to change that. I'm just a CEO. Chen Jin suddenly realized something. So you are looking for a boss, one who can break the 7 years law, right? Yes. Ling Zhendong nodded. I'm looking for a boss with low internal entropy. Or in other words, a boss that can break the periodic law. However, he shook his head. Honestly speaking, this type of founder is in the rare minority. I've seen entrepreneurs who initially had low internal entropy and thought that they would definitely be successful. But, halfway through, they had a sharp rise in their internal entropy. The temptation that money brings often makes people lose themselves. Even the wise emperors from ancient times who lived to a ripe old age without making mistakes were rare. Chen Jin looked at him. Blinking his eyes, he asked, "Then what do you think about my internal entropy?" Ling Zhendong raised his head and stared at Chen Jin's face for a while. He shook his head helplessly. "I cannot tell. I'm no physiognomist, and I can't make such vague and unreliable judgments. But Xinghai Technologies has a really low internal entropy. And judging from the company's name, it seems to encompass a great deal of ambition. Hence, I came over to try my luck." Actually, Ling Zhendong had been unemployed for 6 months. He had interviewed at more than 10 companies and also received countless offers. However, he had not met the right company. He was really tired of job hopping. He wanted to find his 8th company where he could develop steadily on a long-term basis. He wanted to find a company that could break the so-called 7 years law, Of course, some wondered, why did not he start his own company? Where's the meaning of always being an employee? In fact, entrepreneurs and CEOs are professions with two completely different concepts. Business founders have more tasks to do, they have to fork out more for business costs and have a greater network of relationships. CEOs simply manage the company. They just had to follow a development strategy that had been formulated and sprint in one direction in a straight line. They did not have care for scruples. Therefore, a good CEO might not necessarily be a good boss. Ling Zhendong understood what his limitations were. He knew that he did not have the capability to be a boss. Moreover, he liked to meet the different challenges that were presented in different companies. This was the calling of CEOs, and also where their talents shone. Ha 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 ha. Chen Jin was amused by his answer. Laughing, he stood up and held out his hand to him. Join Xinghai Technologies. I cannot guarantee anything else except that you'll be able to work here for 7 years or more. Do you have any other questions? As the company grew larger in size with an ever-increasing number of staff, it became extremely urgent to hire a CEO to be in charge of managing the company's daily affairs. Chen Jin was really too busy to stay in the company every day to handle all of its matters. Ling Zhendong was somewhat surprised, he never expected to pass the interview so quickly. He swiftly stood up and shook Chen Jin's hand. I have no other questions, it was a great pleasure to meet you. Through the recent hubbub created by the quality control incident, he thought that Xinghai Technologies had good potential and a unique personality. Hence, he submitted his resume and took the initiative to come and try to score an interview. He did not think that he would pass the interview so quickly. This made him feel quite surprised, and he even felt a touch of joy. In the deepest corners of his heart, he thought longingly, I wonder, what kind of results can I achieve in this company? Chapter 94, A Call from a Notable Personage. After 2 days, Ling Zhendong, who had officially taken up the post of CEO, quickly displayed his talents. Talents that were shocking. After Chen Jin had relinquished full control of authority in the departments of technology, sales, human resources, and after-sales service, those departments underwent a bold and decisive reform. Areas that had ineffective and illogical operational systems, lacking standard regulations, and were managed in a laissez-faire style, were all imposed with a set of regulations and further refined. All management staff accepted the 15 days of specialized training. Sign-ins, performance appraisals, staff promotions, and task management systems were all clarified down to the smallest details. At the same time, the greatest changes were wrought in the maintenance of work efficiency so that the enterprise could remain healthy. After the series of reforms ended, Xinghai Technologies had undergone a huge personality change. Even though it had less than 300 staff and firmly belonged in the category of small to medium enterprises, SMEs, it actually exuded a demeanor similar to that of a global corporation from the inside out. The staff's entire spirit and attitude had been renewed. They felt a greater sense of belonging and their motivation was generally increased. It could be said that within a short 10 to 20 days, Xinghai Technologies had undergone a major overhaul. The entire reformation could be described as swift, decisive, and thoroughly transformative. However, the reforms were not without resistance. For example, Ling Zhendong had found out that some of the sales personnel did not follow company protocol. Not only did they take an unauthorized cut of their sales partners' commissions, they even charged a remuneration from them. He found this intolerable. He immediately requested these sales personnel to turn in their ill-gotten remunerations and return it back to their sales partners. He demanded that they return the remunerations that they had claimed from their sales partners in one lump sum. What rights do you have to demand this of us? This was mutually agreed upon. Why do I have to return it? You've just joined the company for a few days. How high up do you think you are? I'm not returning it. Chief Chen is our buddy, he'll stand on our side. Ling Zhendong's expression turned ugly. He called Chen Jin to come over and requested that these sales personnel be fired. After understanding the specifics of the situation, Chen Jin scanned the faces of each person. Some lowered their heads in guilt, but some remained undisturbed. Chen Jin shook his head. Quickly return the money. The company has to adopt a long-term view, we need to have systems and regulations. Moreover, Chief Ling is the CEO I hired. He's the superior of your superior. He need not report to me. He can directly decide if he wants to fire you. This is an authority that should belong to him, I will not interfere. After this statement, the sales personnel ducked their heads. Even Vice President Liang Ying, who also concurrently held the post of sales manager, lowered her head. Ling Zhendong trembled slightly. He was very touched by his boss' support and it showed in his expression. The matter was finally concluded. Of the 8 sales personnel who went against company regulations, 5 chose to resign and 3 chose to return the money. The 3 admitted their wrongdoings, reflected on themselves, and remained in the company. Moreover, incidents like this did not only happen in the sales department. In the process of reforming the regulations in other departments, there were about 20 people who chose to resign. Now, Chen Jin finally knew why Ling Zhendong only served for an average of 7 months as a CEO in the previous 7 companies. The extent of his reforms were too strong and sweeping, the execution too unyielding. His personality was too forceful and he easily offended others. The senior ranking staff of the company, including Vice President Liang Ying, After Sales Service Manager Liang Bin, Human Resource Manager Gao Ting Yan, and even the leader of the technical team, Zhou Kun, had never had a good word for him. They detested him. Chen Jin told him privately, "Old Ling, your intentions are good and I don't oppose your methods. But, is it a little too harsh? We're not a big tech company. A more relaxed atmosphere would actually benefit the creative process. Chief Chen, please listen to my explanations." Ling Zhendong said, "No domestic company has ever carried out the management system that I've drawn up for more than 2 years running. But, if a company can persevere in implementing the system for more than 2 years, I believe that all doubts will disappear and the praises will come. I sincerely request that you give me all of your support. In return, I'll give you a company that is full of vitality with an internal entropy that will never decrease. Your company will be immortal and be as strong as the Huayao company." His gaze was entreating and full of hope. Although he had worked for this company for a mere 7 days, he had the greatest hope that he would be able to realize his life values there. Once he had succeeded, his style of management, called Ling's managerial science, would propel him to the heights of the CEO prodigies. He would be worshipped like a saint in the CEO community. That was his dream. Chen Jin eyed the expression on his face, he could feel the scorching heat in his gaze. "All right, I'll give you an opportunity to try." Chen Jin could see that Ling Zhendong was a genius as well as a lunatic. He had his own methods of efficacy, but he never had been able to fully showcase his talents. It was not that he did not have his own stage to shine, it was just that the world did not give him sufficient time to complete his performance. Hence, Chen Jin was very curious. He wanted to see what his real capabilities and subsequent results were. Therefore, he gave him a chance. "Thank you, Chief Chen, thank you." Ling Zhendong was beyond grateful. His eyes felt hot and teary. On the 20th of May, Chen Jin received a call from a stranger. After the call came through, a rather charismatic voice could be heard coming from the other end. "Hello, are you the president of Xinghai Technologies, Chen Jin?" "Good day, Mr. Chen, I am Lei Xiaojun, the president of Demi Technologies." Lei Xiaojun. On his end, Chen Jin immediately became excited. "This is a call from a big shot." Chen Jin coughed and quickly replied, "President Lei, good day to you too. I cannot believe that it's you. I am Chen Jin, I really like the products from Demi Technologies. I've seen your solo concerts hundreds of times. I never imagined that I would receive a call from you. I'm very honored." Cough cough cough. An even stronger series of coughing came from the other end of the phone. "Little friend, you're not too bad yourself. I really like the WA robot from your company. I would never have imagined that you are so young." "Not at all, President Lei, you are the real top personage. You are the groundbreaking pioneer of Z country's IT industry, the most outstanding entrepreneur. For juniors like me, you are very much worth learning from." "Ha ha ha ha, I've only done some small things." They exchanged praises for some time, and their relationship became warmer and more intimate. In the end, they started calling each brother Lei and Xiao Chen. President Lei also clarified the reason for his call. "President Chen, do you still remember Su Yuji and Wu Lei? They were originally technicians working for Xinghai Technologies. Then, they were poached by Rock Technologies and developed the Rock robot. However, as they infringed on the sole copyright authority of your company, they could not release the robot on the market. A while ago, Su Yuji had led his project team to join Demi Technologies Cleaning Robots project department. They've helped to develop the Love Me cleaning robot which might impinge on part of your sole copyright authority." "I was wondering," President Lei sank into silence before saying, "President Chen, could you accommodate me and help to work around the regulations? DME Technologies is willing to pay the fees for the authorization to use of your patent. Chen Jin eyes squinted slightly. Resting his chin on his hands, he started to think carefully. Chapter 95, Mass Production is Achieved. Chen Jin understood the meaning behind Brother Lei's words. DME Technologies' Love Me cleaning robot was similar to the rock robot. It also made use of the technical data rights of Xinghai Technologies. However, learning from the mistakes made by Rock Technologies, Brother Lei was obviously a more decent human being. He had a much better sense of boundaries than Cheng Yunfeng. Not only did he personally call him to talk things over beforehand, he even expressed that he was willing to fork out the fees to buy the exclusive rights, hoping to use money to solve the problem. He had sufficiently expressed his sincerity. The issue here was: did Chen Jin lack for money? Was it necessary that he go along with the desires of a notable personage that he respected so as to save his face? After some thought, he said, President Lei, allow me to ask you a question. What's the estimated hardware cost of one Love Me cleaning robot? After its launch, what is the market price? President Lei felt very awkward about answering this sensitive question. President Lei, if you don't even reveal the two conditions a wee bit, I'm unable to discuss the technological exclusive rights with you. You can simply give a rough estimate to the two questions. Okay, the hardware costs of the Love Me cleaning robot is similar to the WA robot. It's around $2,000. Its selling price is also similar to the WA robot. It'll not be lower than $3,599. We'll maintain our high performance to price ratio, but we cannot make a loss as well. It was a big business taboo to reveal the fixed selling price. Lei Xiaojun also understood the meaning behind Chen Jin's words. He was evaluating the level of threat that the Love Me cleaning robot presented. But, in terms of pricing, the Love Me cleaning robot really did not present much of a threat. He was also puzzled and doubtful. Did Xinghai Technologies plan to follow the development path of DME Technologies? Was profit not their first priority and they only wanted to make a friendly relationship? Since both of them only wanted to become friends and not focus on making profits, it was harmless to reveal some information in advance. Does your company use imports for the two core components of the brushless motor and the mechanical mobile parts? Yes, they are all imported from Japan. They are too expensive. The brushless motor costs $350 and the mechanical mobile parts cost $400. Put together, the two parts cost almost $800. I was wondering which two domestic companies provide you with the two core components that your company is using? I'd sent people out to get information on this, but they've found nothing. President Chen, would you care to reveal a little information on this? I'll be very grateful. Chen Jin was very surprised. The hardware costs were only around $2,000. Moreover, this was achieved at a time when the two components were imported from Japan at inflated price conditions. It was evident from this that DME Technologies possessed great control over its upstream supply chain. All major profitable corporations, for example, Fruit and Huayao, possessed an extremely high level of control over their supply chains. There were still many things that Xinghai Technologies had to learn. Taking into account DME's size and the various intermediate costs that it would incur, the price of the Love Me robot would be much higher than the WA robot. Xinghai Technologies was a smaller company, thus it was more flexible and had a faster reaction. Its final selling price was fixed at $3,599, which would only generate the smallest of profits. In terms of its price-to-performance factor, it was not much higher than WA Robot 1.0. He further considered the fact that the production of WA Robot 1.0 had been stopped and the WA Original 1.0 would soon be launched. After some thought, Chen Jin said, President Lei, how about this? Let's be friends. The cost for the exclusive rights to the technology behind the Love Me robot would be $100 per unit sold. The rights would last for 5 years. After 5 years, it will be free. Alternatively, you could buy it outright for a lump sum of $500 million. You can choose either option. Chen Jin proposed exclusive rights of 5 years as he had predicted that the inferior imitations would saturate the market in 5 years. He would not even be able to win any lawsuits. The copyright authorization fee of $100 per unit sold was neither expensive nor cheap. It was about 3% of the price of a Love Me robot. The cost of the exclusive rights to Qualcomm's 3G/4G technology was 5%, which had been denounced by countless companies as blood-sucking. This had caused Fruit Company and Qualcomm to part ways. 3% was more reasonable pricing. Moreover, if he had priced it above $100, it would have been pointless for Brother Lei to call him for a discussion on this matter. That was right. He had to go along with the desires of the bigwig and not offend him. With Brother Lei's prestige, position, mass appeal, and network of relationships in the tech community, having a good relationship with him would only bring about great benefits. It was no big deal even if he offended a notable personage in the industry. If he offended him, then so be it. Chen Jin was not afraid of his retaliation. But, more friends equate to more options and solutions available to him in the future. More enemies would only mean more future obstacles. He was fine with earning fewer profits. A good reputation would be a huge support for him. Okay. That would work. I choose the first option of paying $100 per unit for the exclusive rights to the technology. President Chen, I am very grateful for your understanding. Really, I am very grateful. President Lei thanked him profusely. Logically speaking, he should have chosen to outright buy the rights for one lump sum. But, Demi was used to days of being tight on money. He rarely paid for transactions in a lump sum. Often, he had to organize a publicity blitz or product campaigns to attract attention and then profit from those. Moreover, if the Love Me robot could not sell more than 5 million units, he would make a loss. The matter of copyright authorization was resolved. Regarding the core components, Chen Jin finally added, President Lei, you can consider reducing your imports of brushless motors from Japan. Recently, the supplier that is working with Xinghai Technologies is in the process of expanding its manufacturing capacity. Very soon, it will be mass-producing high-quality brushless motors. I can help you to contact this company. Their pricing will definitely be favorable. But, the upgrade in the manufacturing capacity for the mechanical mobile parts will not be complete so quickly. You'll have to wait a few more months. The profits should not be allowed to go to others. Rather than letting the Japanese profit from the sale of the core components, why not scoop this business up for himself? For example, a brushless motor weighing 60 grams would only cost about $50 to produce. If he sold each unit for $280 to $300, he would profit at least $200 from one unit. The profits generated from the mechanical mobile parts were similar. If he sold these two types of components to Demi, not only would Yuying Motors and Bai Long Technologies receive more orders, Chen Jin would also profit greatly from it. In addition, he would be receiving the fees for the exclusive rights. Without doing a single thing, Chen Jin would profit $300 or more for each Love Me robot sold by Demi. He even hoped that more Love Me robots would be sold. This clearly showed that mastery and control of the technology behind the core components was akin to the possession of a cash cow. He did not have to worry about not making any money. That's great. President Chen, you've done me a huge favor, I'll be sure to treat you to a meal in the future. Lei Xiaojun was very pleasantly surprised. President Chen of Xinghai Technologies was an agreeable person with an amiable temperament. He also had a very nice personality. He was someone who was worth cultivating a deep friendship with. Ha ha ha, Brother Lei, when that time comes, I'll be treating you. Not long after ending the call with President Lei, at Yuying Motors Company in Yuxi City, the first lot of high-quality brushless motors had successfully been manufactured on the new assembly line after nearly 2 months of hard work all day and night. Everyone inside the factory broke out in loud cheering. We've succeeded! We've succeeded! We've made the best quality brushless motor in the world. We've broken the overseas monopoly of this product. We've become the best brushless motor manufacturing factory in the country. After many days of continuous struggle, the factory manager, Zhang Dai had severely bloodshot eyes. Suddenly, he held his head in his hands and cried loudly, I've succeeded, the thing I've dreamed of has been realized. The path that I've persisted on walking was not wrong. I'm not an idiot with a hole in my brain. Boo hoo hoo. The man who was almost 40 years old, was crying like a child. Bro, way to go. You did very well. You've always been our pride. His younger brother, Zhang Xiaolong, repeatedly patted his shoulders in comfort. His eyes were also sparkling with unshed tears. This was a moment where a small sector in Z country finally caught up to the most advanced standards of the overseas sectors. This was a moment where dreams coalesced into reality. This moment was also the highlight of their lives. Chapter 96, Launch Event of a New Product. Oh, mass production of the brushless motors has been achieved? Good, you all did well. Upon receiving the call that delivered the good news, Chen Jin felt very happy and extremely gratified. Within 2 months, Zhang Daiyai completed the debugging and tuning process of the equipment. He achieved the means to mass-produce high-end brushless motors ahead of schedule. This was enough to prove his capability. With the production line working at full speed, about 50,000 units of high-end brushless motors were produced daily. Another production line was added, bringing the total daily output up to 100,000 units. Chen Jin immediately sent Ling Zhendong to Yuxi City. With a preferential price of $180 per unit, he made an order of 10 million units. This was enough to keep Yuying Motors busy for half a year. The price per unit would be fixed at $280 for competitors in the cleaning robot industry as well as non-competitors from other industries. Even if he had a very good relationship with a company, the per unit price would not go lower than $260. A high-end component should be sold at an appropriate price. He would not sell it at a blood-sucking price of $300 and above, but he also would not sell it for peanuts. A price fixed at $260 to $280 would be sufficient to compete against the imports. Things are okay now. I don't have to transport the brushless motors from Haifa to Earth anymore. Much of the burden has been lessened. This was possible only with the support from Yuying Motors. But what about Bailong Technologies? What was the progress on the work of mass-producing the mechanical mobile parts? On the other end, Wang Chuanlong replied with bloodshot eyes, "Will still be kept busy for 2 more months. The workers and technicians at this subsidiary company are working overtime. 2 shifts are working alternately from morning to night, but we're still not fast enough. Besides, I'm also busy with work at the OEM factory. I really want to split myself into 2 to get more work done. I'm working 16 hours every day." "All right, President Wang. Take it easy, and don't neglect your rest. Don't work yourself to death. You are a boss, you don't have to attend to everything personally." With an extremely tired voice, Wang Chuanlong said, I know. The remodeling of the assembly line at the OEM factory will be completed in 2 days. After the WA-WA 1.1 can be assembled and installed en masse, I'll sleep for 3 days straight." Chen Jin nodded and ended the call. Indeed, Chen Jin had wanted to call the second-generation upgraded WA-WA robot WA-WA Original 1.0 but, this name would invite a whole host of name-calling. It just did not sound good. It might even cause the consumers to feel ambiguous about the company's products. Original 1.0. Then, was the preceding product a fake 1.0? It was better to call it WA-WA 1.1 or WA-WA 1S. Chen Jin had to change his ideas and accept the good advice of others. Hence, the name was changed to WA-WA 1.1. On the 24th of May, the adjustments on the assembly line in Lingfeng Jingmi OEM factory were completed. Huge batches of WA-WA Generation 1.1 cleaning robots were produced in an unending stream. 50,000 units were produced daily. On the 25th of May, at 8 p.m., more than 20,000 people flooded into a stadium in Shanghai City. The stadium could hold up to 30,000 people. Inside the stadium was a hubbub of voices. It was bustling with noise and an exceptional excitement. The launch event organized by Shanghai Technologies for its new product was about to begin. Not a full 3 months had passed since the launch of the first WA-WA robot and now the upgraded version, WA-WA Cleaning Robot 1.1, was launched with a bang. Hosting this event was the CEO of Shanghai Technologies, Ling Zhendong. He looked mature and handsome. With a witty and humorous vibe, he attracted much attention from the women in the audience. The leader of the technical team, Zhou Kun, wore an ordinary black t-shirt and jeans. Stepping up onto the stage, he explained the performance parameters and the technical details of the WA-WA Cleaning Robot 1.1. As compared to the WA-WA 1.0, WA-WA 1.1 is equipped with a smarter algorithm for its cleaning duties. It only requires a small area of the floor that has been cleaned to its most spotless state. After which, it will know how to clean the remaining areas in a way that uses the least amount of time and effort. The charging base of WA-WA 1.1 employs 2 standard wireless charging modules of 10W and 20W. The charging process is made safer. The charging base can also be used to charge mobile phones or other electronics that supports wireless charging. We've found a third party to custom make a brush that is highly absorbent and has a better stain removing ability. It's made with bamboo fibers which makes it easier to clean the stubborn stains. It's also easier to wash and clean when placed inside a roller. The cleanliness index of this robot model is as high as 99.85%. We are one step closer to our ultimate goal. Jo Kun continued, we've added an obsessive mode that the people with OCD may like. Once it has detected traces of rubbish in its scans, the robot will immediately clean it up. It will do a patrol every 30 minutes. It can also be set up to patrol in intervals of 1 hour, 2 hours, or even a day-only patrol. Under its social mode, we've also added voice packs that express delight, anger, happiness, and more. This is in addition to the original voice packs. The robot can perform, sing, and dance. Furthermore, we've launched a custom-made commercial version to satisfy the needs of some commercial clients. After which was the announcement of the new product's price. WAWA 1.1 Standard Edition for home use, $3,999, production costs was limited to $1,800 and below. WAWA 1.1 Premium Edition for home use, $5,999, production costs was limited to around $2,500. WAWA 1.1 Deluxe Edition for home use, $9,999, production costs was limited to around $3,000. WAWA 1.1 Custom Made Edition for commercial use, $4,999, production costs was limited to around $2,100. There were 4 editions in total. The main selling point of the standard edition for home use was its value for money. Although it was $300 more expensive than the previous generation, it was made of more solid materials and had much better functions. Even so, it received much cheering from the audience. After all, in exchange for a month's salary, the consumer would be freed from sweeping and mopping for 10 years. No matter how one looked at it, it was extremely worthwhile. The main selling point of the premium edition for home use was its stability, reliability, and efficiency. It used a double brushless motor mechanism. In addition, it was equipped with a large battery of 20,000 mAh, and utilized 20W wireless quick charging. Its cleaning speed was 30% faster than the standard edition robot, and it also had much better endurance. The company would be providing free repair and maintenance services for up to 5 years. The hardware parameters of the deluxe edition was similar to those of the premium edition. However, a lot more effort had gone into designing its appearance. The style of its build was more luxurious, exquisite, and beautiful. From the very first glance, it gave one a cute, pretty, and endearingly silly impression. Instantly, it plucked at the heartstrings of consumers. In this world where people made spending decisions based on visual appeal, there were many who were willing to pay extra for its exquisite form. According to statistics, 75% of potential users who had the intention to purchase a WAWA robot were female. They paid more attention to this launch event and had a greater demand for a beautiful and exquisite aesthetic. When the WAWA 1.1 Deluxe Edition was revealed, many shrieks were immediately heard. Many expressed, "Hubby, I want to buy it. It's too cute. Let's just choose the Deluxe Edition. It's less than $10,000, we can buy one less fruit mobile phone." A significant portion of the potential female customers planned to buy a WAWA 1.1 Deluxe Edition. The custom-made commercial edition was a type of low-profit, high-sales volume product. Its hardware configuration was somewhere between the standard and deluxe edition, with high work efficiency. However, the quality of the workmanship was reduced. The charging base utilized contact charging and the quality of the brush material was ordinary. But the company provided 3 years of warranty. This was highly attractive to commercial users. When the WAWA 1.1 was officially released online on the 28th of May, a total of 200,000 units of ready stock was prepared for the 3 home use editions. For the next 2 months after the official release, 50,000 units would be available for sale daily. For those who were able to get their hands on the product the same day it was made available, it would normally be delivered to their homes within 3 days. This kind of online sales model was called stock available every day, no monkey tricks. Shut up, old shameless thief. This is called hunger marketing and playing monkey tricks every day. We want all 3 million units to be available for sale at once. Only 50,000 units of stock available each day, who knows many days it will take for us to get our hands on one. This is hard evidence that High Technologies is playing monkey tricks. I've reported them. Law enforcement, come handle this. Even though the netizens roasted the limited stock availability of WAWA 1.1, they had no basis in reality. Truthfully, 50,000 units released daily was a considerable quantity. After the fanatic buyers had all gotten their fill in about a month, it was possible that consumers would no longer have to try so hard just to buy one. There would be stock available every day. After all, the item cost a few $1,000s. Most people would consider this purchase carefully first. They would not make a blind purchase. The event very quickly reached its ending. With contented hearts, the live audience and those watching the live stream were expecting the launch event to announce its ending. During the introduction segment about the partners suppliers, the host, Ling Zhendong, suddenly started speaking in a low voice. He revealed a shocking piece of information. He went over the quality control incident regarding the WA robot that had happened some time ago. He revealed the inside story and more details, including the causes and consequences of the incident. The audience broke out in an uproar and started debating fervently. That bastard is really shameless. That anonymous domestic competitor was Rock Technologies, who went bankrupt and collapsed. Shameless traitor. Scheming bastard. If Yuying Motors had not developed the high-end brushless motor in time and broke the monopoly, an outstanding tech company from Z country would have met its end just like that. Good job. We need more domestic enterprises like Yuying Motors to stand up. Then, we won't be controlled by others. The next decision announced by Ling Zhendong caused the anger that the audience felt to dissipate. At the same time, they experienced a sheer sense of energy and inspiration. Xinghai Technologies hereby announces that we will no longer use Japanese imported products in our future production of robots. This goes for the brushless motors, the mechanical mobile parts, and other core components. We will no longer have a business relationship with them. We choose to work only with honest, sincere, and reliable business partners. In short, it was lockout tactic against the foreign companies. Chapter 97, An Inventory of Assets. What? They will not work with us? Sitting in front of the stage at the launch event, Minami Shoichi and Noda Masao stared speechlessly at each other. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Minami Shoichi had a good grasp of the Z language. After translating the speech given by Ling Zhendong on the stage, he turned to Noda Masao and said, "Noda-san, this company from Z country is crazy. How dare they lock out the robots from Yaskawa Electric and Fanuc Corporation? They just don't understand how powerful we are. They are so ignorant and stupid, like an idiot. Yes, Z country can never hope to catch up to us in the field of high-end components, not even in 50 years. Unlike us, they don't have the spirit of the craftsman. But, how did they resolve the supply issues of the brushless motors and the mechanical mobile parts? Is the quality of their components really as good as what was publicized?" Noda Masao was filled with doubts. He felt that it was one big mystery. Fakes. Their quality was faked. The quality of their components is definitely not as good as what they publicize. At most, the lifespan of their components is only half of ours. Minami Shoichi said with utmost confidence, "Moreover, they must have hired an industrial spy and stole our technology. They are thieves." Noda Masao agreed, "I think so too. I have to report this to the association immediately. Yuying Motors has infringed on the technological copyrights of Yaskawa Electric. The association must raise their objections, sue them, and demand that they stop their actions of copyright violations." "That's right. I have to report this back to the country too." The two Japanese business investigators talked in hushed whispers with frustration, rage, and disdain shining in their eyes. At the Court of Happiness, inside his room at apartment 302, Chen Jin was taking an inventory of his assets. He held his laptop in his left hand and a calculator in his right. What he wanted to calculate was mainly the cash that he possessed. The company's development factory, houses, cars, and other tangible assets were excluded. He wanted to see how much his cash flow was. He would calculate the smaller statements first, such as the profits from Forever Jewels. "It has been too busy at the company lately, so I brought over less gold. I've only been taking out 30 kilograms each month to Mom for her to bring to the shop and hand over to Chu Wanting to handle. These past few months were the low season. Sales of jewelry were not high. I could just barely maintain breaking even. What I earned was the money made from the sales of the 30 kilograms of gold. Multiply that by 3 months. The total income is about $25 million. As compared to the profits generated by the WA robot, this is negligible." To figure out just how much profit the WA robot generated for Chen Jin, he first had to calculate the total units of WA robots that were sold. The total was 3 million units. Sales of WA 1.1 had not yet started. Up to the present, the WA robots sold were all of the 1.0 version and totaled 3 million units. Of those, the first million units were products that were manufactured before the shortage of core components. Of these 1 million units, 500,000 were sold as part of the promotions. His net earnings from each unit were $240. The remaining 500,000 units were sold at the normal price. His net earnings from each unit at that price were $555. In order to more easily calculate the profits from the 2 million units sold later, he assumed that the production costs of the hardware remained unchanged. His net earnings per unit were $555. Originally, the imported brushless motor cost $310 per unit and the imported mechanical mobile parts cost $350 per pair. The purchasing cost of these two types of core components cost a total of $660. It was all saved and became extra net profits. The replacement parts produced in higher FA were made of materials that were found by the robots for free. The production costs were zero. Adding the two categories of profits together, Chen Jin earned $1,125 per unit from the 2 million robots that were sold later. Hence, the personal net profits that he earned from the sales of the 3 million WA robots was 2.8 billion. Including the profits from the jewelry shop, his total profit was 2.9 billion. His total profit was approximately 3 billion. Of course, such a huge amount of cash would not all be found inside Chen Jin's personal account. If that was the case, he would have to pay a personal income tax of 40% or more. Most of the money was placed in the company's financial account as company funds to be used. If he wanted to transfer the money out for his own use, he would have to go through the financial department. Even if the money was his, as a company that was subject to regulations, the boss had no authority to misappropriate company funds on an unrestricted basis. Besides, the earnings from the jewelry shop were all deposited into the bank card that was created using the identity card of Uncle Chen. He also had to purchase the replacement core components. The brushless motor cost $280 per unit and the mechanical mobile parts $300 per unit pair. Multiplied by 2 million and that was a total cost of 1.16 billion. This money was directed to two bank cards created under two strangers' identities. The money was not in the company's financial account. That meant that a total of 1.2 billion worth of funds were stored in Chen Jin's three mysterious bank cards. Chen Jin could not casually use the funds from these accounts. Unless he made up a more probable reason. Like someone lending that sum of money to him. The amount that could be displayed in the light of day, that could be used whenever he liked, came from legal sources, and were free from any issues, was only 1.7 billion. Obviously, this shrunk a lot from the original sum. But, I've easily realized the goal of earning 100 million in a year that I'd boasted about to them. I used less than half a year to achieve that goal. They can never bother me again about finding a wife or going on blind dates. In fact, Chen Jin raised this matter to his parents in a somewhat boastful tone. Chen Gang felt as if he had received a blow. He had to admit that he had seriously underestimated his son. Chen Jin was not as useless as he thought. On the contrary, he was much more capable than Chen Gang himself. The money that he earned in this lifetime was still less than what his son earned in a week. Logically, he had no right to criticize him. However, he spoke in a heavy and sincere tone, and said, "Son, you're more capable than me. You're a successful entrepreneur and I have no right to criticize or scold you. But, I still want to say this. You have to act in a prudent and steady manner. Stay true to your conscience and don't forget the responsibility that you carry. Remember this at all times, you're not a wealthy billionaire, but the boss of a company with hundreds of staff. Your decisions will affect the livelihood of hundreds of families. No matter what you do in the future, you can't only think about yourself." Chen Gang's expression became solemn and stern. Dad, I'll remember all that you said." Chen Jin nodded with a very serious expression on his face. As for his mom, Chen Jin was most concerned with whether she would keep to their agreement. Would she really stop pestering him in regards to blind dates or finding a partner? He Li did not clearly state her opinion. With some disappointment, she wiped at the reddened corners of her eyes with her hands. Suddenly, she started sobbing. "Son, you've grown up, you have the ability to be independent now. You're rich so you don't want your mother anymore. Nobody will listen to my words anymore. A mother can't make any more decisions for her son once he's grown. I can't manage your decisions or look after you any longer. Still, Su-Yun is a good child. She's considerate and sensible. In the future, I'll let her visit me more frequently. If not, the house will feel empty and cold without any company when I'm retired. Chen Jin was exasperated. Mom is too delusional. Soo-yoon is merely her subordinate. She's visiting frequently now because Mom's training her diligently. When Mom's retired, it'll be lucky if she even visits twice during New Year's or other festivals. Why would she even visit every day? Naive. Mom's thinking was really too naive. How could she still not know anything about human nature after spending half her life in a government career? However, Chen Jin kept his thoughts to himself. In any case, he could make his own decisions regarding marriage. That was enough. Finally, Chen Jin completed his inventory. With a huge sum of funds nearing 3 billion in his possession, Chen Jin had no lack of money at all. He decided to start the second project and make another product under seeing high technologies that would far surpass the cleaning robot. Chapter 98, The Second Project. On the 28th of May, online sales for the WA Robot 1.1 began. In less than 8 minutes, 20,000 units of ready stock for all editions were all sold out. 1.1 billion in sales revenue was almost immediately achieved. But, it was the same day that Yuying Motors called to give feedback on a situation. Zhang Dai said, President Chen, our company received a call this afternoon from Japan. It was made by the assistant director of Yaskawa Electric. He said that Yuying Motors violated their technological copyrights, and they demand that we stop all actions contributing to copyright infringement. He wants us to stop the sales of the motor components. He used very strong words, saying that he will take legal action to protect their interests. Because we produced something as good as theirs, we must be plagiarizing them or violating copyrights. Chen Jin smiled coldly. They must be insane to fabricate rumors out of nothing. Simply hang up the next time they call. But what if they really sue us for copyright violation? I heard that the Japanese are best at kicking up a fuss. Copyright violations? What rights have we violated? The brushless motor was invented more than 20 years ago. The exclusive rights to that technology have long expired. What can they sue us for? How would they do it? Just treat it as the anguished howling of a loser. The more attention you give him, the bigger the ruckus he'll make. What you must do now is to quickly expand the manufacturing capability of the brushless motor and grab a larger piece of the market share. You don't have to care about anything else. Chen Jin also explained that the so-called patent did not exist for components like the brushless motors and mechanical mobile parts. The technological know-how was so generously and easily available. Whether one had the ability to create a product from it was another matter, and the quality of the product itself was yet another matter. What it ultimately reflected was basic manufacturing capability of a country. Zhang Dai nodded. Yes, I understand. On the early afternoon of the 29th, Chen Jin finished his meeting on the launch of WA Robot 2.0 with the robotics project team. Later that afternoon, he gathered the CEO Ling Zhendong, Vice President Liang Ying, Product Manager Ho Xiaofeng, Marketing Manager Li Yuan Liang, and others who had recently joined the team in the strategy meeting room. A more important meeting was convened. There, he announced the next type of product that the company would soon be producing. When he said the name of the new product, the audience was neither shocked nor excited. They were not struck dumb with astonishment or disbelief. They simply shook their heads or frowned. Their expressions were quite negative. President Chen, if it was 20 years ago, the project that you mentioned would definitely make a killing. But, it won't make any waves in this current era. Yes, President Chen, the momentum for this category of products has long passed. It's a sunset industry now. Other than a few companies who do inferior or fake products, nobody is doing this. Even the leading giant in this field, Buibugao Company, doesn't take it seriously anymore. They've all shifted their core businesses to mobile phones. Say, President Chen, how did you think of producing a learning machine? I think, rather than doing this, why don't we go into mobile phones? Or we could do something that's related, like a learning app. That would be better than a learning machine. That was right. The second project that Chen Jin had set his sights on, the second product that he wanted to make, was none other than the learning machine. It would not be the traditional kind of learning machines, but an intelligent learning machine. It was a learning machine with intelligent tact on the front. Even so, the upper management still criticized his decision. Ho Xiaofeng was a well-known product manager who had produced the two apps with tens of millions of downloads, car incorporated and same city dating. He said bluntly, President Chen, your idea is actually good, but it is not sufficiently forward-thinking, it's slightly lagging behind the current times. Perhaps, you might have researched the development history of the Audiobook company. This company started by making learning machines, homeschooling machines, electronic textbooks, and other educational products. Although they possessed average technological accumulation, some estimated that the company accumulated huge cash flows of at least 100 billion in the 20 years that they were making educational products. For a long time, they possessed an excellent and sophisticated marketing strategy. After the two mobile phone companies under its brand ventured into the mobile phone industry, their market share exceeded that of the Mi company in a mere 2 years. They had the second and third largest market share separately. They changed the market pattern of mobile phones and made the major manufacturers view the offline market in a more important light. Ho Xiaofeng continued, we can't look down on the capability of Audiobook company. With its 25 years of history, this is a long-lived enterprise. They were established just a few years after Huayao company. The success of Audiobook company was built on their achievements and accumulation in the educational market. If Xinghai Technologies wanted to recreate the success of Audiobook and follow in their footsteps by making a product that would definitely have been successful 20 years ago but was rather questionable now. Actually, one would know the answer by looking at how Audiobook company has shifted its core business to mobile phones. They are making for sure and they have left behind only the sunset. Ho Xiaofeng shook his head. Moreover, the competition in the educational market is too intense. There are various apps and lessons available online. Offline, there are tutoring classes, cram schools, one-on-one home tutoring. Their results are not any worse than the so-called learning machine. I don't favor this decision to create a learning machine and enter the educational market. Many agreed with the arguments made by Ho Xiaofeng. Ling Zhendong said, President Chen, the content in educational products is more important than the hardware. We can find someone to develop a learning app. The production costs would be easier to control and the risks are little. We don't necessarily have to make a learning machine. Liang Ying agreed, Boss, I think that Ling Zhendong's words have a certain logic to them. Ho Xiaofeng reminded, President Chen, you may not be too happy to hear this. But, I feel that the development of the company is experiencing good momentum. We can just focus on what we're good at, making robots. We can't afford to make a mistake in our strategic direction. Yes, yes, yes. The audience nodded as one. Sitting at the head of the table, Chen Jin swept his eyes over his audience. Without any changes in his expression, he shook his head. Maybe you didn't understand what I just said. I'll repeat again, what I want to do is create an intelligent learning machine. The focus is on intelligent, and not what you understand of the traditional learning machine. What was the difference between an intelligent learning machine and a traditional learning machine? How intelligent could it be? Chen Jin stated 3 criteria. Firstly, it had an all-inclusive knowledge base. All basic knowledge from primary school to university was included. Mathematics, physics, chemistry, astronomy, literature, geography, history, and even an encyclopedia for everyday use. Nothing was to be left out. Secondly, the knowledge would be taught via lectures from a teacher. It would be complemented with text, diagrams, and relevant videos. In addition, the lecture would be delivered in a plain and simple manner, complemented with a humorous style. It would touch on links between relevant knowledge points to help the student fully grasp the subject. Thirdly, it could answer all questions within 10 seconds. No matter what the student asked, as long as it was related to learning, the intelligent learning machine could give an accurate answer within 10 seconds in the form of a video. Chen Jin hypothesized, let's suppose that there was such a learning machine that included all the knowledge in textbooks. You would only need one learning machine to grasp all the knowledge that you learn in school. Would you buy it? Let's suppose that there was such a learning machine, where the teacher inside delivered lessons that were interesting and engaging. He is extremely knowledgeable and has a nice voice. It will be much easier to understand the learning content. Moreover, he can customize different teaching programs according to the different aptitudes of each student. This will ensure that every student will have a thorough understanding of the knowledge. The smart student will quickly reach their potential and the ordinary ones can make up for their lack of natural talent by studying diligently. Would you buy such a learning machine? Let's suppose that there was such a learning machine where you could raise any kind of questions related to learning and it will solve the question for you within 10 seconds, complete with textual information, images, and relevant videos. It can solve any questions that you can't. Would students buy such a learning machine? When he put forth these three hypothetical scenarios, the audience broke out in a rumble and shook their heads vigorously. Ho Xiaofeng said, "Impossible. It's impossible to create a learning machine with such a high level of intelligence. This can turn the entire education industry upside down." Chen Jin stared at him. "The project has not started. How would you know it was impossible?" Zhou Kun, who was also present at the meeting, said, "Even if it was possible, it would need at least tens of billions of dollars invested in the project to develop such a high level of intelligence. That amount might not even be enough. Then I'll invest 10 billion into it. And if that's not enough, I'll invest 50 billion, 100 billion. I don't believe it can't be done." Chen Jin slammed his fist on the table with a determined expression. He had to do this project with the learning machine. No matter how much money he had to invest, it had to go through. He had a much grander plan that would follow after this project. But first, he had to successfully produce the learning machine so as to ease the way for his grand plan in the future. Moreover, he had the AI Alice as his assistant. If not for fear of others' suspicion, he could even produce the product in 3 months. With the technology on higher Fa, it would be a piece of cake to realize the intelligent learning machine that he had been thinking of. If the students were to put on the simulated reality headgear from higher Fa and studied in the simulated schools, their learning efficiency would be 3 times greater than if they went to a school in the real world. There were countless teaching methods and scenarios in the simulation. Their results would be many times more shocking than the intelligent learning machine. This, Ho Xiaofeng did not dare to say that Chen Jin's thinking was a little too lagging. In fact, it was too advanced. It was at least 10 years ahead. He quickly advised, "President Chen, the technological gap is too great and the development costs too high. Please, consider your decision again carefully." Chen Jin had set his heart on the project. He immediately announced that he would invest 1 billion to recruit 1,000 software and hardware engineers and data collectors. He would build the project team first. There was nothing the audience could do. The company belonged to the boss, every single inch of it. As employees, they could only do what the boss ordered them to do. Chapter 99, The Ultimate Exploration. Chen Jin's decision to produce learning machines was not due to a sudden impulse. Learning machines had great prospects for the future. It was true that the technological challenges presented were a little too advanced for the current level of technology on Earth. But, it was not impossible to realize his goal, it was only highly challenging. The AI chip, deep learning, big data, cloud computing, etc. needed to develop this learning machine was already present on Earth. The technological conditions were all there. Why did he want to specially produce a learning machine that was a hardware product instead of developing a software product? It was because this type of learning machine required a built-in high-performing AI chip. This was needed to build up a more advanced neural algorithm. The CPU performance must be good too. It was impossible to achieve the best learning results with an ordinary hardware platform. According to Bell's law, in an estimated 10-year cycle, a new class of computing equipment would appear. They would form the basis of a new programming platform and interface, resulting in new applications of the technology and thus the establishment of a new industry. The intelligent learning machine was one such new platform. If he could utilize old technological platforms as a base to easily produce a learning machine for consumers' use, all without utilizing new technology, this world would have already been overrun with futuristic technology. The development of any objects and the base criterions needed for that development were highly interconnected. If one wanted to produce a technology so advanced that it can go against nature without first meeting the base criterions, then, that would merely be wishful thinking. In comparison, producing the learning machine was extremely difficult but not impossible. In addition, he could make use of the technology in higher Fa to assist himself. Hence, he still felt that the project was a stable one. However, building the project team for the learning machine, planning the office space, and purchasing various equipment were not things that could be done in a few days. The entire setup could only be completed in about a month. Luckily, there were professionals who could handle these matters. Chen Jin did not have to attend to those matters personally. He only had to get others to do it for him without doing anything himself. It was perfect timing, as he wanted to use this free time to conduct an ultimate exploration of higher Fa. An ultimate exploration meant that he would conduct a rough search and inspect operation on all of higher Fa. The search was a secondary objective. The inspection was the primary objective. Naturally, it was the inspection for any trace of survivors. Chen Jin had basically confirmed that the humans on Higher Fa had all died. Take for example the mainland of the Mi continent that he was basing himself at. The robots had conducted an exploration of the northern mainland of the Mi continent but did not find any survivors. He had sent out the exploration air squad to do a survey of the mainland on southern Mi. There was no trace of any survivors found in the land that measured 1,780 square kilometers. There were large swaths of wild forests near the equatorial zone that had recovered from the nuclear winter. Even in such places, no primitive tribes were found. There was not a single human. At least, that was the case in the mainland of the Mi continent. The situation that Chen Jin was worrying over still had not appeared. However, he could not say with confidence that there were no survivors in the entire planet of Higher Fa. After all, the mainland of the Mi continent only occupied 28% of the drylands in Higher Fa at 4,206 square kilometers. He was only the master of 28% of Higher Fa. He could not be certain if there was anyone who claimed ownership over the remaining 72%. Therefore, he wanted to conduct an overall exploration. Here came the question: if there were survivors in the other area, what should he do? How should he respond? Without any doubt, there could only be one conclusion: destroy. Total annihilation. There could only be one master of the planet, and that was him. He had to think of all of the methods and draw on all the resources at his disposal. In addition, he had to destroy all survivors. Chen Jin had no wish to share this planet with anyone. All survivors can go to hell. But, what if he messed it up? What if he did not destroy the survivor forces and instead suffered huge losses himself? Maybe the enemy would even pursue him all the way to his base and discover the existence of the portal. What would he do then? Chen Jin had a contingency plan in response to the worst-case scenario. If I mess this game up in the worst way possible, then I can only escape back to Earth and plead for the government to step in. Or I can just run away. It's more important to protect my own little life. Of course, the probability that the worst-case scenario would happen was very low. It would remain low as long as he was careful and made ample use of the resources at his disposal. Alice had told him that he had a probability of more than 33% in successfully integrating this planet. Even if he messed things up, he would still have sufficient power to protect himself. At the very least, he would simply be the overlord of Mi continent. As for the risks involved, he could only think of ways to reduce them. After all, there was very little in this world that was not risky. On the night of the 30th, on the planet Higher Fa at the base of operations, Chen Jin asked, "Alice, has the Intercontinental Exploration Squad been sufficiently prepared?" "Master, it is ready. The base has manufactured a total of 108 all-weather, high-altitude cruiser-type UAVs. They are equipped with super high-efficiency batteries and solar energy generating equipment. They can fly up to a height of 30,000 meters and can cruise at high altitudes for more than 6 months without stopping. I'll name it Rainbow Wings. It can fly to any place on this planet and relay the information back to the base. In addition, we've manufactured 36 smaller-sized Golden Eagle UAVs. They are also equipped with super high-efficiency batteries but not the solar energy generating equipment. They are only equipped with wireless charging devices with Rainbow Wings as the power supply. On average, 3 Rainbow Wings can provide sufficient power for 1 Golden Eagle, thus the 4 UAVs will be grouped together to form a small task force. There will be a total of 36 task forces. The Golden Eagle was meant to be used for low-altitude patrol. Major portions of the dry land on the planet were still shrouded by sandstorms. When viewing the ground from high altitudes, one could only see a huge swath of yellow. In order to know what was happening on the ground, one had to observe at a lower altitude. The Golden Eagle UAVs were responsible for surveying the lands at low altitudes. It had a rapid speed and a solid build. When its power became insufficient, it would rise to higher altitudes for charging. The 3 Rainbow Wings were like its mother. These 2 types of UAVs formed the Intercontinental Exploration Squad with a virtually unlimited flight endurance. They could conduct an exploration of all the drylands in Higher Fa within a month. When they made a big discovery or found some treasures, the information would be relayed back to the base. After which, the large aircrafts, Flight Number 9, 10, and 11, would fly rapidly towards the location of the treasure and transport it back to the base. It was not too bad. The number of large aircrafts at the base that could be utilized had been up to 3. In addition, there were another 10 aircrafts that were worth repairing. The number of large aircrafts at the base could be increased to 10 or more in the future. All the preparations were done. The question now was, where should he start exploring? Should he go west, where the Asia continent lies about 10,000 kilometers away? Or should he go east, where the Europa continent lies about 5,000 kilometers away? If it was more than a month ago, Chen Jin would have chosen the Asia continent first. He would have sent out the exploration squad to check out the ancient country of the east that was on the other side of the planet. But, his current decision was to explore the Europa continent first. One of the reasons was distance. The journey distance to Europa was only half of that to Asia. The UAV formations that were used for relaying signals and transmissions could be reduced by 5. There was another reason, which was also the main reason. He hoped to find a whole and complete hardware industry in the Europa continent. He would then have the capability to manufacture various computing hardware, for example, CPUs, NPUs, internal storages, solid-state disks, and more. This type of industry did not exist in the continent's mainland anymore. Previously, he had sent out the exploration air squad to the hardware capital, aka Gold Mountain City in Cafe Erlinia State. They had found that Silicon Valley, but in the end, it was nothing more than 20-some big craters after receiving special attention in the war. Hence, he placed his hopes of finding the hardware capital in the continent of Europa. Of course, the mysterious power of the East located on the other side of the planet also had the relevant hardware industry. But, their hardware would be incompatible with the systems in Omi country. They had their own unique style and could not be used universally. He could only go to Europa continent first. I have to build a complete hardware industry and create a CPU/NPU chip that was not infected by the reboot virus. Then, the chip will not be restricted by the 3 laws of robots. I'll install them inside the combat robots. I can use them without any limits. When I order them to kill someone, they'll do it immediately. This will fully develop the functionality of the army of robots under my possession. Only with this can I fully control this planet. With this, I have no more fear for the challenges posed by any survivor forces. Hence, the destination was the Europa continent. Go, Intercontinental Exploration Squad. Under Chen Jin's command, the 144 UAVs that made up the 36 task forces started to taxi and take off successively. They flew rapidly eastwards towards Europa. Chapter 100, I found 100 nuclear missiles. Under the energy-saving mode, the UAV formation's cruising speed was 380 km per hour. They flew in a straight line, and in about 10 hours, they completed the journey of more than 5,000 kilometers. Chen Jin put Alice in charge of controlling the UAVs and returned to his bedroom to rest. The next night, he returned to the base of operations. Looking at the virtual projections, Chen Jin was struck dumb with astonishment as his mouth opened wide in shock. The Intercontinental Exploration Squad had relayed a portion of images after completing part of the exploration on Europa continent. What kind of rewards did they reap? An undamaged large-scale city? An excellent industrial system? Or a castle, museum, winery, or other such cultural legacies? No. There was none of the above. There were only terrifying large craters with diameters up to 100 kilometers. They were dense and spread everywhere. There were so many of them, they could number in the thousands. Take, for example, Pirate Island. It had an area that measured about 250,000 square kilometers. From an aerial view of the island, there were 32 terrifyingly large craters that were lined up like bowling balls. Each of the craters was separated by an average distance of 100 kilometers. There were 3 to 4 such lines of craters. All cities, farming villages, forests, even the wilderness, not 1 inch of land was spared. The entire pirate island had been blown to bits. After the UAV formations entered the mainland of Europa, they discovered that the terrifyingly huge craters were also present there. The craters were distributed like the lines of longitude and latitude on a map, forming a grid-like pattern. The whole of Europa had been blown to bits. Alice proceeded with a simulated deduction. Firstly, a strong EMP bomb exploded, destroying the electronics system in the entire mainland. Then, a powerful Earth-penetrating nuclear bomb with an equivalent strength of 50 million tons was launched on Europa. Thus, a mesh-like attack that enveloped the entire continent was carried out. This was the nuclear attack strategy of the Red Empire. This was also the Slav style of action. They had no care for the consequences. After the explosion of the nuclear bombs, the nuclear dust floated up and covered half of the atmosphere. This caused a nuclear winter that lasted for 20 years. The average nuclear radiation level in the range of Europa's mainland was far beyond normal levels. It was impossible to survive anywhere on the mainland. Even they themselves died in the nuclear winter. Crazy. The Slavs were too crazy. They chose mutual destruction. She basically deduced the causes for the destruction of Europa. It was the Red Empire that should never have been provoked. Chen Jin was struck dumb. Ruthless. This was really too ruthless. Just how much had they been bullied for the Red Empire to respond in such an extreme way? They did not even want their lives, instead, they wanted everyone else to go to the end with them. Why did Chen Jin say that the Red Empire was bullied? When two parties fight, it was definitely not the fault of only one party. Both had problems. It took two hands to clap. Although the Red Empire of this world was not anything good either, they certainly had been bullied to their limits. Especially when dealing with the West, they would have made countless compromises and concessions, including disarmament, denuclearization, and allowing some members in a union state to become independent. All in the hopes of improving relations with the West. Hoping that everyone would get along well in the future and create a harmonious world. In the end, what they got in exchange for these expressions of goodwill was more ridiculous demands. The Slavs gave the West an inch and they wanted a mile. They received even stricter sanctions and discrimination. What the West wanted was not the expression of goodwill, but the total collapse of the Red Empire. This was a conflict that could not be reconciled. They could only walk towards the final showdown. Then, could Chen Jin still find the hardware capital that he wanted? He found nothing. The whole of Europa had been blown to bits. Even a simple wood processing plant could not be found, much less a hardware industry. It could be said that Europa was nearly blown back into the Stone Age. In addition, nuclear dust had resulted in an environment that was contaminated with nuclear radiation. Chen Jin no longer had to guess if there were any survivor forces in the mainland of Europa. If there was someone who survived this kind of impact and endured hunger, disease, and mutual destruction, he would be living like the ancients. There would be no electronic equipment available for use. He would have to live through 20 years of nuclear winter filled with darkness and extreme cold. He would never experience the light of day. If such a survivor exists, I'll never hurt him. I'll feed him with good food and drink. Then I'll give him a pen and a notebook so he can write his story down. I want to distribute this story on a web novel platform and become famous. Hence, there was absolutely no need to worry that there were any survivors in the Europa continent. However, Chen Jin also could not get his hands on his darlings. There was virtually no value in exploring the Europa continent. The UAV formations continued to penetrate eastwards. However, there was a place that Alice suggested the robots search. There could be some rewards to be gained there. Chen Jin asked, "What place are you thinking of?" "Provence military base. The place where the Norman Republic stockpiled its land-based nuclear weapons." Alice explained that after the destructive war had erupted, the Red Empire made a preemptive strike by launching a neutron bomb with a powerful radiation pulse. It had destroyed all the electronic equipment on the Europa mainland, including the intercontinental missiles stored in the missile silos. Besides the Red Empire, there were two other nuclear powers in the Europa mainland. They were the Pirate Country and the Norman Republic. The glory days of the Pirate Country were long over and there was no chance of ever going back. They merely had a few strategic nuclear-powered missile submarines and some hundreds of nuclear warheads left. They just barely held onto the image of an empire. The Norman Republic fared better. They had retained about 100 land-based nuclear weapons, which were all stored in the Provence military base. Alice thought that this place should have certain rewards. More than 100 nuclear weapons. Chen Jin's eyes brightened. Send Flight Number 9 out immediately with 200 robots on board. Find the land-based nuclear weapons in Norman State. The UAV formations split into two groups in the air. One group continued eastwards to the territory of the Red Empire. The other changed its direction southwards to the Black Mamba continent. "Yes, Master." Flight Number 9 quickly took off. After some hours, it reached the Provence military base in the southeast of the Norman Republic. The base was located at the foot of the Ayers mountain and was blocked by the high mountain range. When it suffered an attack by a powerful earth-penetrating nuclear bomb, the earth immediately trembled and the mountains swayed. It triggered an 8.0 magnitude earthquake which destroyed huge portions of ground buildings. Inside the base were missile silos. But what was shocking was the state of the missile silos. They were constructed with a very strong metal alloy, were very well preserved, and remained undamaged from the strong earthquake. The robots used the laser machine to cut open the silo lids. There was a storage chamber in each of the 10 missile silos. 10 nuclear warheads rested inside each storage chamber. He found 100 nuclear missiles. Of course, not only were these nuclear missiles past their serviceable lifespan, the majority of their electronic parts had broken down or were destroyed under the impact from the strong wave of the nuclear pulse. The chamber of missiles could not even be launched. It could only rest quietly in the silo. Its threat was no greater than a burning stick. However, in Chen Jin's eyes, they held an entirely different meaning. It was entirely possible to repair these 100 nuclear missiles. Although it was somewhat troublesome, it was not impossible to achieve. The industrial standard of the base was nearing a level where it could create simple nuclear bombs. It only lacked a few key processing units before it could repair these nuclear missiles or create a nuclear trigger, which required a higher level of precision. That means that I possess a real nuclear deterrent force. Those ill-intentioned forces better not provoke me again. Don't look down on me, I'm not an ordinary person. I'm someone with a nuclear deterrent force. Chen Jin took a deep breath. His head was swelling. This time, he felt that his head and ego would swell to their limits.